What we have to understand, there would be no
awful.
Hamas
He's an
without
evil
Iran.
man.
There would not be Houthis without Iran. There wouldn't be Hezbollah without Iran. And when you
That's
look at
Nikki. Did she say there's no Hamas without Iran before Houthis there?
there would be no Hamas without Iran. There would not be Houthis without Iran.
There would be Hamas without Iran. There would be Houthis without Iran. There would be Hezbollah without Iran.
Mm-hmm. It's just opportunistic.
Awful examples.
Iran.
This is the U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
So, so apparently DeSantis is going to drop out tomorrow too,
Right.
So this is literally the most, they said the last debate was pointless.
Yeah. So is Nikki staying in?
Yeah. I mean, I said from the start, that's going to be the vice president. I mean, come on.
Well, the president, provided things go well.
No, she had vice president vibes to me. I just made this guess off vibes purely, not because her policy or anything. It's just vibes.
That you can hear everything okay, that it's loud enough?
Could be louder.
Please welcome former South Carolina Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley.
Who's loud?
Do we want to see more of him, or do we want to cover him?
We don't give a shit about him. He'll full screen himself when he has something to say. This is one of the Pod Save America guys.
Okay.
We might have to listen to Hassan if his audio. I assume his people will tell him we cannot hear this shit. So, but
each of you will have 90 seconds to answer questions, 60 seconds for responses and rebuttals, and 15 seconds for clarifications. Timing lights will remind you when time is expiring.
We also remind our audience here in the Sheslow Auditorium at Drake University to be respectful so the candidates can hear the questions and can hear each other.
Just hours ago, the Republican field narrowed once again.
Debate, they said that
New Jersey
people
Governor
started
Chris Christie.
And it was Vivek's people.
Yeah. Shopcat.
He ended his bid for the presidency. So, with one fewer candidate in the running, let's start with the decision voters here in Iowa are about to face. Governor DeSantis, why should voters...
Chris Christie officially dropped out.
Who did? Christie,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
The human water bath.
For an alternative to the current frontrunner, former President Trump, vote for you rather than former Governor Haley.
Well, the people of Iowa,
could you give us some of your political beliefs?
Kill everyone now. Condone first-degree murder.
Nikki Haley's running to pursue her donors' issues. I'm running to pursue your issues and
No,
your
you're
family's issues and to turn this country around. I'm the only one running that's delivered on 100% of the promises that I've made. We've delivered huge victories in the state of Florida, things that Republicans have been asking for a generation. I'm also the only one running that has beaten the left time and time again. We beat the teachers union on universal school choice.
Provided the Supreme Court does its job, no.
We beat Soros on crime. We beat Fauci on COVID. We beat the Dems on election integrity. And I beat the left by banning China from buying land in the state of Florida. Now, Nikki Haley is running. We don't need another mealy-mouthed politician who just tells you what she thinks you want to hear just to try to get your vote.
The fuck does that mean?
Bro, it's so insufferable, having him still here and hearing this shit all over again. Yeah. At least Vivek was it added some jazz to it, and we got the even more racist version of him. We got him on crack, but boy, it's so repetitive and so transparent. Nikki Haley does the talk so much better.
Yeah.
Another state, and she said the people of Iowa's votes need to be corrected. This is somebody that wrote in her book that Hillary Clinton inspired her to first run for office. I remember Hillary denigrating people on the Republican side.
I love that she writes shit down.
We don't need a candidate who's going to look down on middle America. We've had enough of that.
Yeah, Nikki Haley, honestly, she's the only person. Chris Christie certainly has been around. He hasn't necessarily worked his way to the top, but he's kind of like failed upward. But like with her, she's like worked, she showed up to like do the job. Like if this was something that you earned, she's more deserving of the rest of them.
Oh, for sure. If anybody out of the
and honestly, you would hear this about Hillary, the rhetoric they would say with her, where they would be like, "But it's about experience. She's got the experience. She's got the experience."
She's the worst fucking person on earth. So
if it was Nikki Haley versus Hillary, who are you voting for?
Nikki.
Probably me too.
To lead this country's revival. I'm asking for your support, and I won't let you
vibes
down.
alone.
Governor Haley, your response?
Well, I think this is a time that we know that we need a new generation.
She's trying to be Jackie Kennedy.
We have watched.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I missed the cue. When they were going to ask her, I was going to pause it and just play
I'm fucking better than you.
It would have been great, but I missed the cue.
Our country be in disarray. We see the world on fire, and we need someone who's.
Why is it on fire, Nikki?
I've been a two-term governor that took a double-digit unemployment state and turned it into an economic powerhouse. I was at the UN. I dealt with Russia, China, Iran every day.
More talking points.
But you're going to find out tonight that there's going to be a lot of Ron's lies that have happened. There are at least a couple of dozen so far that he's done. So what we're going to do is, rather than have him go and tell you all these lies,
Ron DeSantis is writing on his piece of paper, just scribbling.
He's playing with a light bright. People. We know what he's doing.
He's just coloring with the crayon.
He's literally, it's like the menu he got at the restaurant.
Go to DeSantisLies.com and look at all of those. There's at least 24 lies that he's told
the UN
about
is
me,
actually,
and you can see where fact checkers say exactly what's going to happen.
Let me tell you something. The UN actually is very powerful and effective. It's just not in the ways that people want it to be, like all they are. So like UN peacekeeping missions, they statistically have prevented wars. It's statistically beneficial, but also there's shit like the massacre in the Bosnian War, the genocide of they stood by and let all the men and be taken out of a fucking village, bro. And they just stood by and let it happen. So there is plenty of controversies, and the rhetoric from them about constantly being like everyone is equally evil. Obviously it's annoying, but that's the whole point, is that they have to keep the evil people in the room to talk to them. So the thing is that they don't actually do anything. None of the stuff that they do matters with the diplomacy stuff, but the fact they keep it open, that side of it's useful. When it comes to peacekeeping missions, though, they're literally just a wall between militia conflicts. So the Congo, the UN is pulling out of there right now, right? And it was already getting worse than ever as the mission was coming to a close. So we'll see with the Congo. You can see a success fail rate of what it was when they were there and what it was when it wasn't.
And exactly why it's wrong. So it will cover the fact that he's only mad about the donors, because the donors.
That said, she was only at the UN to appease Israel
now, and that's because he's upset about the fact that his campaign is exploding. You're going to see the fact that he has switched his policies multiple times, and we'll call that out tonight. But every time he lies, Drake University, don't turn this into a drinking game, because you will be overserved by the end of the night.
Well, I think this is interesting.
This is great.
Because,
she's girl bossed the shit out of this already.
Because Nikki Haley has this tactic. If you hold her accountable to her record, first she'll say, I never said that. Well, one good rule of thumb, if she says she's never said something, that definitely means she said it. And then she'll say, you're lying, you're lying. That means not only did she say it, but she's on videotape saying it. And so we have all the greatest hits. The reality is Nikki Haley is not somebody that has been willing to stand in and fight on behalf of conservatives. She ran for governor saying she was going to do universal school choice, and she caved to the teachers union. She didn't deliver that. In Florida, I delivered the largest expansion of school choice in the history of the United States.
And censored books. Nice.
The teachers union. And you know what the results are? When she was governor of South Carolina, She was rated 50th in education, dead last. You know where Florida is under my watch? Number
49th. We should actually look up where it is because it's definitely
just said
not
number one. You know,
I know it's definitely not number one. Florida, number one in education? I don't think so.
one in the nation.
Your response, Governor Haley?
You dirty bitch!
Go to DeSantisLies.com and you can find out for yourself. But why don't we talk about the fact that if we're going to
she created an entire website of his lies. Holy shit!
Oh, you looked it up?
No, she just said it. Go to DeSantisLies.com.
Yeah, she said that before. Yeah, she said that before. Did you miss that?
Did she? Yeah. I wonder if she made it. That's epic.
Florida, well, he said that he promised not to raise the debt limit when he got to D.C. Yet he raised the debt limit by hundreds of billions of dollars.
Are we now
he used to support Ukraine. He supported Ukraine when President Obama was in office. Now, he's trying to copy Trump and saying that he no longer supports Ukraine and doesn't want to give them foreign aid anymore. He also goes and says that he wants to talk about me insulting Iowans. Iowans know when you're telling a joke. The fact that he's only running in one state is not the way you win president. I'm running in all states. But he should tell Iowans why he authored legislation to ban the renewable fuel standard that's so important to Iowans' economy, and the fact that he co-sponsored five different pieces of legislation.
She got him with the corn. Bro, also, that's like critical damage. If you're in Iowa and you bring up anything related to corn, critical damage to the opponent.
Do anything with Social Security. Like yet he voted 3 times to raise the retirement age of Social Security. So if you're going to talk about what you said and what you did, I think you've got your own explaining to do rather than telling lies about.
Thank you, Governor. We're going to get to a lot of these issues in the debate.
That's
Governor
true.
Haley,
He did do that.
When Governor Christie dropped out of the race just a few hours ago, he said
the
most important issue is, quote, the character of the candidate. Governor Christie also said he ran.
It's so great that it's not like
would be the only
something like a Democrat, Occupy Democrat. What's the Lincoln Project? Like if it was Lincoln Project, cringe. Heritage Foundation, cringe. You know, Heritage Foundation loves DeSantis though. They wrote the playbook for him.
Yeah. Hassan's are pretty bad as well. Mostly because he pauses it, goes on a tangent, and then continues it and doesn't talk about it for the entire time. It's great. It's real great. I don't know.
So I imagine what this guy will do is he'll give all his input when it's on the commercial break, and he'll have the commercial break muted in the background.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's a good way to do it.
Well, he's actually like he's like a
No, I know the Democrats.
One of the high level
used to work for
political commentators on that side of the aisle.
Former President Donald Trump. Do you believe Donald Trump has the character to be president again?
No.
Well, I think the next president needs to have moral clarity. I think you need to have moral clarity to understand that it's taxpayer money, not your own money. I think you need to have moral clarity to understand that when you're dealing with dictators in the world, that we always have to fight for democracies and human rights and protecting Americans and preventing war.
I will say this, for an answer to say no without saying no, that's not bad.
And so when you look at Donald Trump, I have said, I think he was the right president at the right time. I agree with a lot of his policies, but his way is not my way. I don't have vengeance. I don't have vendettas. I don't take things personally.
Perfect.
For me, it's very much about no drama, no whining, and getting results and getting them done. So I don't think
Wouldn't that
President
be
Trump is the right president.
That's appealing to me, though, honestly. Like, oh my God. Like I literally went to Syria to get away from Trump news every day. Like Trump drove me out of that industry. I just could not take it anymore.
Yeah,
it
was so much all the time. Like there was a point where you could type in Trump and anything, and there was an article about it.
And like anything, no matter where you go, that's what's being talked about.
Yeah, it was insufferable. The media wishes Trump was back in power.
I was saying, like, oh, I can't wait. It's actually going to be quiet for once.
Yeah. Yeah, like the media, the worst thing to happen to the media was Trump losing.
Dude, and it's changed so much. Like, you look at Bill O'Reilly, still on the old model.
Yep.
And, like, you can tell how much it's changed. You go back and watch, like, a Bill O'Reilly interviewing Obama. Hilarious.
to go forward. I think it's time for a new generational leader that's going to go and make America proud again. That's what I'm going to try and do.
Yes,
Governor
a nice
DeSantis,
soft
your
hit.
response-
There's no point to any of this,
Mm.
right? Like, this is like, it's definitely one of the most interesting election cycles, but like,
I thought it was going to be more chaotic. Maybe it will be.
the thing is that Trump's so busy with these court
Fighting court. Yeah. Well, fingers crossed that works and states keep banning him and it actually stands up, because states can make their own election rules, and if they ban someone, so be it.
And then you see Ron DeSantis, who said, I'm exploring options to get Biden banned in Florida. First of all, why?
Yeah.
That is a state Trump is going to win. Like,
yeah, exactly. Silly.
You don't need to. Why would you just like
what a perfect way to show that you are undemocratic. Like, at least the reasons Trump's being banned is good ones, or at least decent ones. And like, yeah, if these states succeed, which hopefully they do, more states will follow. And realistically, all you need is 10, one big one and a couple small ones, and you're golden. He's not winning.
But
one big red state.
Like, Colorado doing it is huge. Maine doing it is huge because Maine is one of the unique states. Their electoral points split.
Oh.
So it's if you can win points on either side for like different things. If there's another state that does that as well, but I just know Maine for a fact does it. And because of that being banned there, it's not like a high point state, but that is a battleground state technically because of how that vote always breaks down. And like Maine is very rural, the crab fishermen and stuff like that. But Colorado, so back and forth. Like that is like such like the mixed state. Michigan is a huge one.
Almost went red in 2016. I'm pretty sure.
Michigan is both. Michigan is the most.
If I remember correctly, it almost went to Trump in 2016, or it did.
It might have, but it's one of the ones that will go back and forth.
Yeah,
Michigan is a big one, and then.
And honestly, after what Biden's been doing, I don't think Michigan is doing anything but voting for Biden.
No.
And like all the unions and shit. I don't know how they couldn't.
I think he's secured Pennsylvania, which is another one that's always up in the air.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there, because he's helped them out a lot. Bring the windmill production back. It's big, real big.
The softest. Do you believe Donald Trump has the character to be president again?
Well, I'm running because I'm the guy that's going to be able to engineer a comeback for this country. I appreciate what President Trump did, but let's just be honest. He said he was going to build a wall and have Mexico pay for it. He did not deliver that.
No, Biden
he said
did.
he was going to drain the swamp.
You're literally doing the same thing you did last debate.
Going to hold Hillary accountable, and he let her off the hook. He said he was going to eliminate the debt.
Colorado is not
$7.8 trillion to the debt. So we need to deliver and get this stuff done.
Colorado is a big one. Colorado, Maine, Colorado and Maine are huge ones to be banned from. As far as like if New York does it, who gives a shit? You know, if California does it, who gives a shit? It doesn't matter.
Oregon may be interesting. All those white hillbillies in the mountains.
But Michigan, and Pennsylvania, if those two also do it, there's no way Trump can win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All you need is a couple key states and it's done.
Colorado can go both ways because Colorado, it has like the rural part of it is super rural. That's why all the mass shootings happen there. Because of the clash. I'm still thinking the Supreme Court does an entire nationwide ban.
I'm not sure about that.
Why not? Like the Supreme Court, they cannot be voted out. Right?
It would win favor back to them.
Why would they care?
And it's shown that the people that Trump put in aren't necessarily loyal to the Republican side. They have voted on other sides consistently. So, yeah.
And
maybe they're constitutionalists.
The main right-wing corrupt judge, right, is the oldest one. He's the worst one, not the ones that Trump put in, even though they all helped ban abortion, right?
Yeah.
But that guy has been threatening to leave.
Interesting.
Because, like, people are being mean to him or something. I don't know. But, like, if we can bully him out...
Maybe.
Remember when all the people...
Dude, imagine if that happened during the election cycle.
Remember... Oh, a Supreme Court hand up?
Yeah. The Republicans would lose their fucking mind. The MAGA fascists would go crazy.
What would be awesome, though, if Biden immediately put somebody in there?
Wouldn't it? Just like, yeah, fuck you. We need this.
Fuck Mitch McConnell, you know? Like, he's a big reason because that Obama didn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I listened to all that litany of stuff. You know, I debated the governor of California, Gavin Newsom. You know, I thought he lied a lot.
Terrible
Haley
debate.
gives him a run for his money, and she may even be more liberal than Gavin Newsom is.
Oh,
we
come
are
on.
in a situation here in Florida, and as Republicans, you need somebody that is going to be in there and fight for you. And Nikki Haley,
and I won't be.
The going gets tough.
Nobody's in there to fight for you.
People
come
come
shut
down,
the fuck up.
she caves. When you need someone standing and fight for you, don't look for Nikki Haley. You won't be able to find her if you had a search warrant.
Thank you, Governor Haley.
Hey, just like a bunch
Look,
of
I think I dealt
poll-tested
with
lines.
Russia, China, Iran, North Korea every day. No one ever.
You wouldn't be able to find her even if you had a search warrant? Do you think that like makes you like it gives you like +1 perception or something?
Zingers, bro, zingers.
Is she hiding in an attic? Like, what is going on in this analogy?
Just zingers.
Never said I caved. I defended America and I fought for America. But I'll also say this. This is not a time where you have to have pettiness. I wish Donald Trump was up here on this stage. He's the one that I'm running against. He's the one that I wish would be here. He needs to be defending his record. Right now, he's not defending the fact that he allowed us to have $8 trillion in debt over 4 years that our kids are never going to forgive us for. The fact that he didn't deal with China when it came to stealing intellectual property.
She switched up some of that line.
The fact that they've gone and continued to put up Chinese police stations and continue to threaten our military. He didn't do enough to make sure that we were really standing with our friends and doing some other things. What we
and doing some other things.
Those police stations aren't. They're basically shut down now. So that's
but she's saying this is what Trump did.
Oh, while Trump was in.
But let's go back 2 seconds. Listen to what she just said.
He didn't do enough to make sure that we were really standing with our friends and doing some other things.
And doing some other things. What?
What other things?
She is cutting it off to save time. She's like accelerated her talking points to make sure she stays.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that is fake. That is fake. It's imaginary. You're correct.
Yeah, exactly. Money is fake.
Mm-hmm.
That number is fake. It means nothing.
But
if the government could just make money, what's the point of money? It's valueless.
Like 80% of the main Republican platform is just fake nonsense. School choice. Yeah. What is that?
Mm-hmm. Well, school choice in the essence of it is like being able to pick a school instead of being zoned out and keeping poverty in poverty areas. I kind of agree. But there needs to be
that's not what it is. It's charter schools.
No, I know that's what they mean it is, but school choice in the actual essence of it is being able to choose which school you send your kids to.
And like there no gun control ever, fake nonsense, you know. The border shit, fake nonsense. Abortion, it should have been fake nonsense. Somehow it was overturned. I don't know why they did that.
No,
that was really stupid of them.
President that's looking at 20 and 30 years, because I want my kids to
correct.
I can
School
assure
choices
you, Donald Trump is looking
undermining
at 20 and 30
education and
years.
pushing Jesus.
one where they can read, one with secure borders, one where we have law and order, and one where America is strong.
Well,
Thank you.
with all due respect, for her to single out Donald Trump on China, and look, I think he could have been tougher on him 100%. When Nikki Haley was governor of South Carolina, she was the #1 governor in America for Republicans of bringing China into her state. She wrote a love letter to the ambassador saying that they were a great friend. She's on video saying China's a friend. She had a business, Chinese business, 5 miles from a military base. There's a video of her on the website right in front of a Chinese flag saying that she works for them now. So that was her #1 achievement as governor, was bringing China into the state of South Carolina. So you say you're going to look 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Why wasn't she doing that then when people were raising the red flags about it? In Florida, I banned China from buying land in our state. And
we heard this. You already said it.
That's what you need to be doing.
We're going to talk about China in a little bit. I want to talk about the economy, which according to a recent Des Moines Register poll, shows that the economy is the top issue for caucus goers here. So Governor Haley, the rate of inflation is down. Prices, though, are still high, and Americans are struggling to afford food, cars, and housing. What is the single most important policy that you would implement as president to make the essentials in Americans' lives more important?
I think we have to acknowledge that Republicans and Democrats have both done this. I mean, the fact that they've done all of this wasteful spending, they did a $2.2 trillion COVID stimulus bill that expanded welfare, that's now left us with 80 million Americans on Medicaid, 42 million Americans on food stamps.
That brought us the fastest recovery of the G7.
I think it's time we have an accountant in the White House. We have to have someone that respects taxpayer dollars. And we'll start by clawing back $100 billion of unspent COVID dollars that are still out there. We'll go in, instead of 87,000 IRS agents going after middle America, we'll go after the hundreds of billions of dollars of COVID fraud, $1 out of every $7.
Give
if
me a break
8% of our budget is interest, quit borrowing, cut up the credit cards. I had to balance a budget as governor. You have to balance a budget every day. Why is Congress the only group that refuses to balance a budget?
You've heard this
We'll
before.
stop the spending. We'll stop the borrowing. We'll eliminate the pet projects and the earmarks. And I'll veto any spending bill that doesn't take us back to pre-COVID levels. And then we want to make sure that we allow the middle class to breathe. We're going to eliminate the federal gas and diesel tax in this country and cut taxes on the middle class and simplify those brackets. And then we want to make the small business tax cuts permanent. They made corporate tax cuts permanent, but they made small business tax cuts temporary. Small businesses are the heartbeat of America. We need to prove it by making those tax cuts permanent.
Governor DeSantis.
Every answer is always just give.
There was something she said that I wanted to touch on, because even though I wasn't here, I was listening.
Take us back to pre-COVID levels.
At the spending, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pre-COVID
She's
levels.
said this all before.
I know. Pre-COVID levels doesn't exist anymore. That spending bill needs to be adjusted for the inflation that you fucking idiots caused. Like, sure, okay, this is a great idea, but is it actually practical? No, you're going to have to compromise, and then you've lied, and then now you've got a campaign lie that people can bring up later. This is so stupid. Like,
well, she's running to be vice president, you know.
Well, Trump's not running. So, you know, she'll be the candidate. And I tell you what, people, I think, would vote for her on the purely woman card.
Yeah, I think she would do better with Democrats than with Republicans, ironically.
Yeah. I think some of her stances may put people off. But I think people who vote based on the person would definitely vote for her, especially over Biden. Like, she's what, 40? Something like that?
Pretty young.
Like, she's fairly young. You know, she's relatively pretty, which is good. Like, it's a good first female president thing. Like, it's beneficial to her. She's mixed race. Is she mixed?
Yeah, she's
right? So she's mixed race.
I know that
Americans,
whenever her and Vivek would fight,
because I know that Americans mixed race is white and black. For every other normal person that isn't American, mixed race is anything. So for anybody that was confused by that, I'm aware of the difference in language. I learned very quickly when I met one of my friends. But yeah, so I think she has a chance in the general election more so than anybody else on the stage. Because Democrats, as soon as they hear Vivek talk, they're going to have the same sort of like visceral sort of reaction that they had to RFK.
Mhm.
It'll be the same thing.
Well,
So
he was
he's not going anywhere. Huh?
He was just there to disrupt shit.
Oh yeah. So like even if, right, he's not going anywhere. Biden's old as fuck. People really don't like him at the moment for some reason, even though he's actually kind of doing fine.
If they, I mean, the big issue right now is with Israel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, sure, they really could step up their rhetoric, but they don't do it for anyone, you know?
Yeah.
And like the thing is like the fact is like the two spending budgets that passed, it's like, or not spending budgets, but you know, like Israel was giving them money. So it was either accept the money or not. It's like, it's not the same as like, I'm going to give Israel more money in the middle of this.
Yes.
The United States is going to always fucking give people guns when they come by them.
Yeah. I also think, just before we continue, I also think that she would be a more moderate Republican and would be more inclined to side with people on other sides and be more inclined. And because she's been a
kind of
diplomat,
the same as Biden, except she's going to lean more right because like she's going to be somebody who's like, because Biden has been able to do a lot of bipartisan shit. That's the main. She's not saying that because she'll sound like Biden, but she's basically just the same.
Yeah.
Like
So
when
I'm
you
hoping
do a lot of the rehearsed shit, you hear some of the shit she says.
Yeah. So I'm kind of hoping that if she is successful and Trump is ruled out and she is the successful candidate, that she would be more of the same without having this decrepit skeleton in the White House.
She's still. We'll see how those Civil War comments. You know, see if she can shake those off before this Iowa election.
Yeah. So she's definitely made some stumbles, but I really
okay. So
also the trans thing is kind of strange.
Of passing, it doesn't. It's like it's just that DeSantis isn't going to do that shit. DeSantis is an idiot who tortures people. You know, and Trump sure as hell doesn't care about bipartisan shit. But
no, his whole campaign, his whole presidency, if he wins, is just going to be vengeance. It's
well, the argument for Trump is that he's too stupid to be effective.
I think he's vengeful now.
He's too mad.
Yeah, exactly.
He's too pressed.
He'll turn into a tyrant very quickly.
Plus, like you said, if the Supreme Court is really loyal to the GOP actually hates Trump.
Exactly.
I mean, I was saying this when this election began. A big part of this is going to be getting Trump out of the way without making it look like they threw him under the bus.
Yes. It's the only real way that they can do it.
Yeah, Trump is more motivated because he's like facing jail time.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's literally like Netanyahu.
Like Bibi got in there again to avoid fucking going to prison.
Yeah.
But like, I don't like Nikki at all. But like, I think that she would destroy Biden. Out of everyone running, I think she's the only Republican who would beat Biden.
Yeah, and I think that if it was to be a Republican next, if anybody, I'd rather it be her. You know what I mean? One of those.
But that's why the Supreme Court might do it. If they know that she's going to take it.
Possibly. And then this election becomes low risk, and then it doesn't really matter. That's the other thing, right?
Exactly.
That's what we want. We want to return to normality, and if it's a low risk, nobody gives a fuck election, and it's low turnout, fantastic. That's what we want.
Because the Supreme Court, like there's a degree of self-preservation there. Like the fact of like the threat to governance and democracy that Trump is a threat to their employment at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley is not a threat to their employment.
No. So it's just kind of I just kind of hope. I'm hoping as time passes, things work out. He's ruled out. She gets the nomination. Low stress election. Nothing really
Okay.
matters.
We have
That would be
coalitions
great.
and blocks. What people need to understand is that America is 50 countries. Okay. It is 50 independent, sovereign, autonomous nations. So above that, there is certain federal regulations. You know, like the federal branch may be stronger than the EU's branch, but it's effectively the same thing. The EU can dictate policy that will affect the poorest countries or the richest countries. You know, like the EU is just even more of a nightmare to like follow, like do shit with than the United States Congress. But locally, even like inside your county, like there'll be like high courts and stuff. So like the Supreme Court in New York is the one that determines if Trump's there, not the overall Supreme Court, right? So like you get this toss up all over where you actually have a great deal of autonomy and governance on how you choose to live within these countries, but it's effectively the same thing as the EU. It's just honestly, I think better than the EU. There's certain places in the EU that are better than America overall, though.
Don't stake your bets on
Yeah,
that.
so
Don't put money on
the
Texas staying red.
the president as a position doesn't matter in America. It's way more upplayed than people think. Like Biden doesn't even talk to this Israel with all this shit going on. It's 100% handled by Blinken, who's not elected. Like, so the governors of the states actually end up almost having way more authority over our general lives than the president does. The president just can't do, he'll be back. The president can't just do the same amount of things that a state can. As far like a president couldn't overturn like abortion the way states have. They always ask him, like Nikki Haley used to say this, it's one of her points. They would be like, is a federal abortion ban on the line if you get into office? And I would always say, I want to hear her be more anti-abortion and like respecting women's rights and stuff. But she would say it would need to be an act of Congress to do that. The federal government couldn't do that. And I was like, honestly, I respect that cop-out answer because they can't. This whole thing that the PSL people, they used to slam Biden, we need to expand the Supreme Court to pack the Supreme Court. Yeah, okay, PSL, erode America's democracy further after fucking Trump. We see you.
Want to make sure that we allow the middle class to breathe. We're going to eliminate the federal gas and diesel tax.
Yeah, Biden gets credit for his appointees.
And cut taxes on the middle class and simplify those brackets. And then we want to make the small business tax cuts permanent. They made corporate tax cuts permanent, but they made small business tax cuts temporary. Small businesses are the heartbeat of America. We need to prove it by making those tax cuts permanent.
We round it, remember?
Governor DeSantis.
Every answer is always just give more money to corporations. Every single answer. And they're like, but don't worry, we'll help regular people by eliminating the gas tax, which is like 2 pennies per gallon.
And that's what I would bring.
What I'm saying is that it was a good cop-out response to say, because she couldn't actually be strong on the stance because the base would screech. So everything, especially on the Republican side, you have to cop out your answers to make it just gibberish. And that's why they like Ron DeSantis, because he's up there saying nothing all day.
With Iowans, I'm visiting all 99 counties, and also folks all across this country. The American dream is slipping away. People are working hard. They're getting the most out of their God-given ability. They're doing everything right, and they're falling further and further behind. Trying to afford a new home today, your monthly mortgage payment would probably be twice as much.
Okay, what are you going to do about it, bro?
Starting out 5 years ago. We have to make the economy work for those folks.
And how are you going to do that?
Yes, I'm going to battle the spending. In Florida, you look, we have the national debt clock going up to $34 trillion. I see it. If you did a debt clock for the state of Florida, it would be counting down because
sure.
we've paid down 25% of our state debt just since I've been governor. We're going to open up all energy for production because that will be deflationary. You know, Nikki Haley, when she was governor, she promised she would never do the gas tax. Then she tried to raise the gas tax on hardworking South Carolinians. Here's the thing. We need to fly a flag of bold colors, carrying the banner of putting the American people first, not the pale pastels of the warmed over corporatism of people like Nikki Haley.
What's he talking about? What was that? Did you say anything?
Governor DeSantis mentioned the gas tax. You do want to eliminate the federal gas tax, and that tax generated approximately $40 billion in 2022 and helps pay for road construction.
No way. You can make that clock for Florida. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, you should make that clock. Go ahead.
If you take that money away.
Well, first of all, bless his heart, DeSantislies.com.
Bro.
We have never raised a
bless
tax.
his heart
I've
on
never
him.
raised a tax
You
at
tried.
all.
I kind of want to look at the website, but I'm not going to.
I can tell
You're
you
on
right.
video.
Governor DeSantis, she has the floor.
So I can tell
Shut up,
you
dickhead.
that we killed the gas tax multiple times. But what we said is if you want to raise the gas tax, you have to reduce the income tax by 5 times that amount. They didn't want to do it. We've killed taxes every step of the way. But if he's going to talk about his economy, I think what we should say is why does Florida have the highest property insurance in the country? Why is it that it is named the American hotspot for inflation? Why is it that his state is now known to have the highest cost of living increases?
Nice.
And why is it that they're saying senior citizens can no longer afford to live in Florida? So that's the first thing I'll say. We don't need him doing that to our country. When it comes to the gas tax, when we eliminate that federal tax, the money is collected in the states and they send it to the feds. The feds attach a lot of strings to it and send it back. 75% comes from the state, 25% comes from the federal government. What they do when they add those strings is they pay for a lot of things that aren't roads.
Talk to me.
Green spaces, sidewalks, all of those things.
I love
they
this.
attach
Technical,
strings.
I love it.
want that money to stay in the states. I want the states to be able to decide.
Yes, and like she's engaging with people on like honestly, if you're politically engaged, you should understand at least the basics of what she's talking about, even if you don't even if you're like, this is bullshit. I don't, I know she's lying.
At least she's saying something.
Washington bureaucrats deciding
exactly. He says nothing. He's going to say woke DEI.
What we need for scenery and green space and all those other things.
Think about what would happen if the money stayed in the states. What would happen to those red states who are all receiver
We're missing what
states
Nikki's
versus
saying.
the blue states, which are the donor states.
Right.
She kind of admitted that she did try to raise the gas tax, and she's on video saying this. I know she'll say it. She never said it, but she
You
did.
snippet
She
that.
did.
You
She
took
did
a little
do it.
piece
She
of
did
that. That is
She
not
also,
true.
She also
You
raised
Governor
taxes.
Haley,
She
Governor
raised
Haley,
taxes
Governor
when she was in
DeSantis
South
has the floor.
Carolina. That's on the record. And she even proposed a tax on groceries at one point. But I'm just thinking, have you seen your grocery bill lately? That's one of the things that's hitting working people the most. That
Look, man, I could buy a slab from the supermarket. I think it was a Food Lion. It was $9. Could buy a slab of beer for $9. That's pretty good.
groceries are going up probably twice as much what you do. But I also think it's important that we live
$18 for a slab, that's still pretty good.
Like, you live in fucking America, bro. The cost of goods here, like, shut up. This whole thing, that the Johnny Harris video about how it's like globalization is like dead, the type of thing. It's going to be localized infrastructure. The EU is fucked if that happened. Like the economic freedom that they have compared to America is just not there.
Yeah.
That's why when when they banned Russian gas, they still ended up buying it from Azerbaijan and stuff because they don't have the fucking options we do. We have that shit here. We don't have to fucking go to Saudi Arabia to buy it like
American
they do.
Privilege.
Huh?
American privilege.
Yeah, white privilege though. But seriously though, this is first world complaining. Remember when movies used to cost $10? Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Free baby item. Diapers, wipes, strollers, cribs. We want families to be able to prosper in this country. One of the things that's causing so much.
What?
Okay. Well, honestly, these people are Republicans, right? So what do they care about? The birth rates. They just can't say it out loud, right? So like this shit where he's talking about expensive baby products and stuff.
Yeah.
What about if we like pass a really, really conservative law that like encourages, birth rates, like you say, that if it's your first kid and you're married,
get 50 grand.
These like, like these packages will be sent to you, almost like a food stamp type system,
50 grand.
or even allow like more stuff to be expanded through food stamps, like a lot more baby products to be able to be bought through food stamps.
Yeah.
And food stamps also been state to state, so it can be regulated state to state.
Okay.
Problem.
Well, that's welfare and communism. Well, they want birth rates, don't they?
We've done.
You can pay people to have kids. You like if say like Texas wants more white people, and they can say they'll pay you to come to Texas and start a family, right? And that can be the rhetoric around it.
Yeah.
So you go there and you get paid.
It's not a bad way to do it.
And it's not like you would have a lifetime supply of everything you need. It would just be like you get some.
Yeah. Some kickback.
You get some credits, and you can also stock up and store those credits.
Yeah.
Socialism is when the government does stuff.
Russia gives scraps like that to people. Yeah, I know Russia does, because Russia is like a conservative country that like wants to encourage birth rates. Like if you really care, like first, it's like black families that are the ones that are suffering the most from that type of shit, right? So he doesn't actually care about it.
No.
Rejuvenate that, but we need to make it easier for people to raise children in this country so that we can have strong families in a strong country.
Governor DeSantis, at a CNN town hall last week, you said you support a flat tax, which is a single income tax rate for every American. Under your plan, would working families pay the same tax rate as billionaires?
I would only do it if people
What
are
a
better
stupid
off
question to
than
ask
they are
him.
now.
Are you serious? Are you fucking serious right now? That's the question you asked him? If they're going to pay the same tax as billionaires? Shut the fuck up. No. It's going to affect the lowest and the low middle class the most. Well, the middle class doesn't, it can go either way where they'll get fucked or won't, but everyone above that is getting cuts. And the poor are going to pay for that.
Yep.
Think the last year we have numbers for, the federal government took in the highest percentage of taxes from the economy since World War II.
Whoa.
And yet they're going deep into debt. We have a spending problem in this country. It's not a tax problem in this country.
Already.
And if you had something that was simple and transparent, not only would that be better for economic growth, it's also better to end the weaponization of government. The IRS has been weaponized against conservatives going back to the Obama administration. I was there for that. No one's been held accountable for doing that. You look at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice, the weaponization of federal power ends the day I become the president of the United States.
Didn't you change election laws and then retroactively arrest people at gunpoint?
Who's the person you should always
specifically
trust?
black people
saying, I'm getting this job to give myself less power and money. Okay, bro. Okay.
We're going to restore the constitutional accountability that our founding fathers envisioned when they formatted the Constitution. And I've talked to folks who have overbearing federal agencies. I mean, you have farmers who have the EPA coming on their farmland because there's maybe a puddle there, waters of the United States. Give me a break. So we're going to reduce the size of government, but we're also going to reduce the scope of government. And in Florida, I've actually delivered on this. Florida has the lowest percentage of state government workers per capita in the country, and the cost of our state government employees is the lowest in the country. No wonder why we're paying down debt while we're cutting taxes for people. That's the way you do it.
Governor DeSantis. 15-second point of clarification. The question was whether or not working families would pay the same amount.
They would pay less
billionaires.
than what they're paying now. The way I view it is, okay, you'd exempt people, so you would pay no tax for working class people. It would only be as you get above, because I think the first 40, 50 grand,
No
that's
progressive
just to
tax.
subsist. And even some places you can't even do that. So you would have no tax up to a certain point, and then it would just be a single rate. So if somebody makes $100,000, they pay a certain amount. If someone makes $200,000, they make twice as much, and they pay twice as much.
Governor Haley,
I mean, first of all, you just can't trust what he says. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We don't have
DeSantislies.com, guys.
And I never once raised taxes, period. But what I will tell you is
I'm
it
fucking
is
better than
to
you.
call into question, why did he promise he'd never raise the debt limit, and he turned around and he raised it?
I've been waiting.
And then you
I've been
wanna go and you
hovering
see
on it
one
for
side
fucking
of
10
what
minutes.
he says early on, and then he changes it. So here he goes and he says that he is all for energy independence. He wants to get the EPA out of the way. Well, why did he run on the fact that he wanted to ban fracking and ban offshore drilling? Why did he go and author that legislation to eliminate the renewable fuel standard that matters so much? And why now is he suddenly coming to Iowa and saying, oh, never mind, I don't mean all of that? Why did he call Trump and say that he wanted him to stop drilling 9 miles into federal waters? Why is he now saying this? Why do you come to the people of Iowa and say one thing when you campaigned and on day 2 of your office, you banned fracking, you banned offshore drilling, you turned around and authored and led the charge on banning the renewable fuel standard?
Yeah.
You've got to stand up for those things.
You've been beating that dead horse. That's been
Because
debunked
it's
multiple
true,
times.
Ron. It's true.
We're looking forward to be able to open up energy for production, and definitely here in the Midwest with biofuels. I'm the only one that checked all the boxes from the Iowa Renewable Fuel Standard, because I've actually visited all 99 counties. I've actually shown up to people's farms. I've sat and I've listened to people about what they're going through, how their economy is structured, and how it's
that must have been
that we're
awful
producing.
for you.
We have seen your listening. You don't listen. You just don't. You get the scowl on your face and then you tune out because
There must be a lot of sugar in that.
Energy here in the United States. I never want to go hat in hand like Biden has done to Venezuela or Saudi and begging
We're producing
for energy.
the most
We're going to be
oil
able to
in
open
American
up production
history right now.
We're going to choose
I don't know why
Midland
it
over
was like that. That was
Moscow.
funny.
We're going to choose the Marcellus Shale over the mullahs, and we're going to choose the Bakken over Beijing. Energy independence isn't even
Good talking points, Ron.
It's good to reduce inflation.
Yeah, hit 'em.
It's one of the best things we can do for our national
'em.
security. So we'll do that on day 1, and we are going to reverse Biden's Green New Deal and the electric vehicle mandates. Will save the American automobile.
DeSantis,
Thank you, Governor. This
Hi,
has been
everybody.
There's reports
one of
that
the
Actual
biggest
Nazi
years for
here.
illegal border crossings
Huh?
into the United States. Last
I
month
said there's
alone,
reports that
225,000
DeSantis
migrants.
is going to quit in 3 days.
Excellent. Very cool. Very good.
illegally crossed the southern border. It's a record high, overwhelming the Border Patrol resources that are already stretched thin.
This is so
Mayors
funny.
across the country say their cities are being pushed.
You're lying, bro. You're lying in the question itself.
It's a leading
You're
question.
lying.
What do you expect?
You're literally lying.
What is this new soundbite?
That's it, Buster. No more military aid.
That's awesome.
You like that one?
That's great.
You just found it. There's a few new ones in there.
Governor DeSantis. His former President Trump famously promised to build a wall on the southern border. He obviously did not get that done. You have promised to finish the job. How will you succeed where he
Life. There's roadblocks.
failed?
We will build a wall.
how.
We will actually have Mexico pay for it in the way that I thought Donald Trump was. We're going to charge fees on remittances that workers send to foreign countries, billions of dollars. We'll build the wall. He also promised record deportations. Donald Trump deported fewer people than Barack Obama did when he was president. Biden's let in 8 million people just in 4 years. They all have to go back. We have
Sure,
to
let's just
enforce
let
the rule
Donald
of
Trump
law in
come
this
right
country.
into our home.
Think about
Yeah,
what's
go
happening
ahead.
to our
Come on
country.
in, buddy.
Just
All
this
right,
week,
fine.
We
Okay,
saw the news
So,
that
so at the end of the year,
Uh-huh.
the Mexican government stepped up their border patrol, right?
Yes.
So the arrests for illegal crossings dropped by 29% in the busiest area, and the arrests fell to 2,500 a day from over 10,000 in December.
That's pretty good. I mean, they're pretty good numbers.
At a school in Brooklyn, New York, had the kids stay home. They were not able to go to school, told you can't go get an in-person education. Why? Because the city's commandeering the school to house illegal aliens in it. Talk about putting Americans last. You're putting these kids out of an education because you can't control the border. Biden has failed in this endeavor. He has not taken care that the laws of this country be faithfully executed. Do not trust Nikki Haley with illegal immigration. That's like having the fox guard the hen house. She's on tape at the Aspen Institute. She'll say she didn't say it. She was chastising conservatives, saying it's disrespectful to illegal aliens to say that they're criminals. They're violating the law. It's disrespectful when people come to this country illegally and impose burdens on our communities and run drugs into this country. That's what's disrespectful. She's weak on immigration. She's bankrolled by people who want open borders. And she said there shouldn't be a limit on immigration. You should work with corporate CEOs.
Thanks, Governor.
That is pale pastels. That
Governor,
is warmed
thank
over
you so much. So,
corporatism.
Governor Haley.
Why are you gay?
Governor DeSantis and also Donald Trump are attacking you for that comment in 2015 in which you said undocumented immigrants should not be called, quote, criminals. At the time, the full context is you said, quote, we don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that want a better life and they're desperate to get here, unquote. Do you still feel that way?
I saw them when I was at the United Nations. I saw them. That doesn't mean we should let them into our country. I mean, first of all, I will tell you that when I was governor of South Carolina, we passed the toughest illegal immigration law in the country. Obama sued us over it, and we won. We fought Obama on illegal immigration. We fought Obama on migrant kids. We fought Obama on Syrian refugees. We fought Obama on Guantanamo Bay prisoners. I have always said we're a country of laws. The second we stop being a country of
Guantanamo.
laws,
Did you see? He heard Guantanamo. He made a face. He had flashbacks to when he was torturing people. He was like,
missed that.
He had a visceral reaction to hearing Guantanamo. He's like, oh, I miss it. I miss the torture.
refugees. We fought Obama on Guantanamo Bay prisoners. I have always said we are a country of laws.
He's like,
the
shit.
second we stop being a country of laws,
He's satisfied. He's so happy about
Guantanamo. But I will tell you, in passing that toughest
we fought Obama on Syrian refugees as a good thing. Like, what are you talking about? That is like the worst. Like, what?
I look forward to actively engaging civilians.
Like most of the Syrian refugees went to New York anyway.
Yeah. Shit, where is it?
Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
It's a good thing.
Which is where businesses have to prove that the people they hire are in this country legally. I passed it within 6 months of being governor. Ron didn't pass it for 5 years. He only waited to pass it when he decided to run for president. What we need to do is not just ban a wall. We need to put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground and let them do their job. We need to defund sanctuary cities once and for all. No more safe havens for illegal immigrants.
Do their jobs.
We need to make sure we go back to the Remain in Mexico policy so that no one even steps foot on U.S. soil. And instead of catch and release, we need to go to catch and deport. That's the only way we'll stop the incentives of these illegal immigrants coming across. Biden turned around and gave 500,000 Venezuelans temporary protective status. That's 500,000 driver's licenses, 500,000 social security numbers. Okay. All that does is incentivize them to pick up the phone, call their family members, and tell them to come
Governor DeSantis.
She did bring, when she was governor, she did bring Syrian refugees, and she got criticized for that.
That is not true.
She also, in her comment,
it's just so frustrating. Like, why can't you just be honest? Like, just be honest about how the fucking shit works.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? How fucking long is this thing? Jesus.
It's noted. So the disrespect comment, she's talking about that they're all families. If you look right now at the border, these are military-age males, many of them, and they're coming from all across the world, not just from Central America. In fact, you've got them from China.
Is straight up coming from a fucking torturer using this kind of fucking rhetoric, bro. The military-age male shit. You know who does that type of shit? Military-aged male shit. People waging genocide. That's who does it. Look at Israel. What do they say? Exactly.
I was down there a couple of years ago because I've sent people down there. You had people from Libya and Haiti. This is a ticking time bomb for this country. There are, of course, going to be terrorist cells that have come in. It's like the lowest cost way to be able to harm this country. Just send people across the southern border. Nikki Haley also opposed the border wall in 2016. She said, behind you, they're already here. She ridiculed it when Donald Trump was president. I'm telling you, you need a wall. You can't trust politicians to do this. If the wall's there, it's a physical fact of life, and it's a huge step.
The first thing they're going to do is make sure that the money they're holding for their organization is going to get seized. That's definitely their main goal, is to attack America and get the money they're holding for their organization seized.
Who?
Terrorists. That's like, that's their main thing. Is they definitely don't want to stay here and fly under the radar and bank here. That's like the opposite of their goals, right? They hate banking and making money. And being able to fund their organization. They can't stand it.
Yeah.
They just, they see white people and they have to kill them. They can't control themselves.
DeSantisLies.com, I said you can't just build a wall. You have to do more than build a wall. It was having the wall and everything else. You can't trust what Ron's saying. But this is a bigger issue. This is more than him just constantly being desperate and throwing things on me. This is the fact that we have to realize my parents came here illegally. They came the right way 50 years ago. They put in the time, they put in the price. They are offended by what's happening on the border. And my mom would always say, if they don't follow the laws to come into this country, they won't follow the laws when they are in this country. And we have to start treating this like it is. This is putting harm on our schools, on our hospitals. Taxpayers are paying for it. You see these mayors are now upset about it. The only reason Eric Adams is now upset, why? He shouldn't be a sanctuary city then. That's why we have to defund sanctuary cities. Now Governor Abbott finally did to them what's been happening to Texas for so long. We've got to put an end to this. It's dangerous and it doesn't even count the fentanyl that's
Governor DeSantis. There are more than 10 million undocumented immigrants already living in the United States, according to Pew Research. Will any of them be allowed to stay in the United States under your administration?
The number of people that will be amnestied when I'm president is 0. We cannot do an amnesty.
What a cunt.
First of all, it's going to do is cause more people to want to come illegally. So you got to enforce the law. It's got to be consistent. People got to know it's there. You also have to remove benefits for people who are here illegally. California, you can go illegal alien and you get free health insurance coverage. You're here illegally and they're doing that. We should not let states provide these benefits. In Florida, obviously, we don't do that. We don't allow the driver's license and all that, but some states do, and it creates a magnet for people coming in. So federally, no benefits, no enticements to come in, and then the states, we're going to crack down on sanctuary states and sanctuary cities. And I showed the hypocrisy of all this back in 2022.
Sure you
because
did.
We have a program to transport illegal aliens to sanctuary jurisdictions, and one of the places we sent 50 to, beautiful, liberal Martha's Vineyard. And
we get it.
So you did the human trafficking. Cool, great. Glad you admitted that on.
Hey, we trolled them by sending migrants to them.
Fantastic. Human trafficking.
A doofus.
You know what? These are folks that were on their high horse saying how they were a sanctuary jurisdiction, saying nobody's illegal, all refugees are welcome. That's what they had in their town. The minute even 50 came up, they called a state of emergency and deported them off the island the next day. How do you think
the funniest part about this is, like, if you
two...
really think about it, they're doing this in a room full of farmers.
Yeah.
Like in New York, we have like a huge problem with the federal immigration law here, right? And it's because we're a dairy industry. We supply like so much dairy. We're basically all the dairy for the country comes out of New York. Like the reason why most of these states have milk on their shelves is because of illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Not even illegal immigrants. They're undocumented under the table workers. Some of them have documents. They're not all.
Yeah.
But so the way that dairy works, it's not seasonal like crop yields and harvest with meat, right? So you have seasonal rotations where you only have to hire the help certain times.
Yeah.
So in New York, dairy cows need to be milked every day. It's 24/7. The dairy industry runs. It never stops, right? So these work permits are actually the opposite of what we need because they're supposed to be like temporary stays, right?
Yeah.
But we don't need like that temporary type of protection type stuff. We need it to be modified so we're having our workers work for. I milk myself every day. That's nice. They have them throughout the year, and honestly, a lot of child labor is also implicated in the dairy industry here. So what they do is at nights, the night shifts, that's all worked by other people, like people they keep off the books.
Yeah,
and they'll have like one guy who speaks both languages in like each type of group. He's kind of like almost like a union boss, except they don't really actually have representatives, you know?
No.
But like it's funny because they want to modify the law, which will help these people stay in the country longer. But it's also like we want to modify it to exploit them harder. It's like, you know, it's literally like woke racism, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So woke capitalism.
Yep.
Yeah.
Communities feel that are overwhelming, being overwhelmed. So we cannot have liberal elites in this country imposing policies on the rest of us that they are not willing to deal with the consequences of themselves.
Governor Haley, by the when you're president,
damn, imagine bragging about using humans as a prop. Shows how depraved.
I'm glad I can't hear the fucking question.
The reason you have to deport them is they're cutting the line. You've got people who have done this and try to go through the right way. You can't have them go and jump the line and suddenly do that. And that is actually what will get them to stop coming, is when they do realize they get to the wall and they have to turn around and go back. It's a dangerous process of what happens for them to try and migrate here. But when I was at the United Nations and we had this, which is another reason why we need to have Trump here defending himself and talking about what he would do going in the future, because it's a problem. I was on the ground in Honduras and Guatemala. And what we saw is a lot of the reason why they were coming from there is because of gangs and drugs. And so what we did was we had our military go and train them on how to deal with gangs. We went and put drug boats on the water to keep the drugs from coming. But we said, you have to have them processed from here. You can't have them come. We were able to stop that flow. We've got to go back to do that. But we need to end it once and for all. Donald Trump didn't do that. That's why he needs to be here debating on the stage right now.
Governor, thank you. Let's turn to foreign policy. You have expressed different visions for how the U.S. should approach the international conflicts. And I want to start with Ukraine. It's been nearly 2 years since Russia invaded Ukraine, and there is still no end in sight to that war. Governor Haley, you say that this is a, quote, war about freedom, that Ukraine must win. Governor DeSantis says, quote, we need to bring this war to an end. Do you believe he shares your commitment to a Ukrainian victory?
Nobody knows what he believes, because when President Obama was in office, he supported foreign aid to Ukraine. Now he's copying Trump and trying to act like he doesn't want to support Ukraine. But let me tell you why Ukraine should matter. First of all, I don't think we should give cash to any country, friend or foe, because you can't follow it. You can't hold it accountable. I don't think we need to put troops on the ground, and Ukrainians want to win this themselves. But dictators always say, always do.
I don't know. I think Ukrainians would be perfectly fine with American troops on the ground.
Yeah, I think they would.
They're not over there like, we want to do this all ourselves. We don't want outsiders here.
Yeah, pretty sure they would be very thankful for NATO help, if anything.
To take Hong Kong, they did. Russia said they were going to invade Ukraine. We watched it. China says Taiwan is next. We better believe them. Russia said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. Those are NATO countries, and that puts America at war. This is about preventing war. It's always been about preventing war. If we support Ukraine, that's only 3.5% of our defense budget. Biden and no one else is telling the American people the truth about that.
The
Europeans have put in more than that, and they should. It's their neighborhood.
The defense budget argument and Russia is big bad. It's the only argument that the Republicans really need for this shit. That's all they need to keep saying.
Yep.
But this is a pro-American, freedom-loving country. And we better remember that you have to be a friend to get a friend. And we needed a lot of friends September 12th. We've got to make sure that we're having the backs of the right friends. Because if Russia wins,
Saudi Arabia,
there's a reason the Taiwanese want us to help the Ukrainians. And that's because they know if Ukraine wins, China won't invade Taiwan. This is about preventing war.
Governor,
I don't know about that.
I supported Trump's policy vis-a-vis Russia, Ukraine, and it was successful. You know, the Biden policy has not been, but Nikki Haley is basically a carbon copy of what Biden is. It's an open-ended commitment. They want another $108 billion. They will not tell you when they've achieved their goal, and this is going to go on maybe hundreds of billions more into the future. I think a lot of people have died. We need to find a way to end this, because our priorities for national security, of course, the border, which we talked about, and people like Nikki Haley care more about Ukraine's border than she does about our own southern border, which is wrong. But we also have to look at what's the top threat to this country. It's the Chinese Communist Party. We are not doing what we need to do to have adequate hard power in the Indo-Pacific. And here's the thing. We don't have enough resources being $35 trillion in debt to continue doing hundreds of billions of dollars. We got to focus on our issues here at home, and we've got to.
So if our biggest threat is China, why assist? Why not hurt Russia, which is
right.
the biggest?
He said Chinese Communist Party. You come over to my house, you get my wife's name right.
Ally.
Also, Ron, AUKUS, dickhead.
To China in the region.
This is a lie they're telling the American people over and over again. It is so wrong to say this. They're saying you have to choose between Ukraine or Israel and securing the border. Supporting Ukraine is 3.5% of our budget. I don't want cash going. It's equipment and it's ammunition. If we support Ukraine and Israel, that's only 5% of our defense budget.
So you're going to borrow that?
If we support Ukraine, Israel, and secure the border,
Ron,
that's
it's
less than
already
20% of Biden's green
a
subsidies.
sign.
You do not have to choose when it comes to national security. This is about keeping Americans safe. This is about preventing war. This is about keeping our military men and women from having to fight a war. And you only do that when you focus on national security, not telling lies to the American people that they have to choose. That is wrong. That's never.
I like that when he said something, she didn't even stutter. Just fucking kept marching straight through.
You're supposed to shut the fuck up when the other person's talking.
Yeah.
So.
Been the case.
So here's the problem with what she's saying. She doesn't articulate how this comes to an end, except she was asked after the last debate by, I believe, Megyn Kelly, and she said, you bring it to an end by bringing Ukraine into NATO. But of course, we're a NATO country. So if you bring Ukraine into NATO, that puts the United States at war. Megyn said that to her, and then she basically gave a word salad as to how you go from there. So they have sent cash. She supports this $106 billion that they're trying to get through Congress.
No cash has
Where's some
been
of that
sent
money
to
go? They've done
Ukraine.
tens of billions of dollars to pay salaries for Ukrainian government bureaucrats. They've paid pensions for Ukrainian retirees with your tax dollars. We've got homeless veterans. We have all these problems. This is the UN way of thinking, that we're somehow globalist and we have unlimited resources to do. You know, I think here's the problem. You can take the ambassador out of the United Nations, but you can't take the United Nations out of the ambassador.
First of all, I have never said that we should give salaries or benefits or anything else to Ukrainians. I have said it again, Ron, so stop lying. DeSantis lies.
DeSantis, she has the floor.
So you go, I did not support the aid package. I support equipment and ammunition going to Ukraine. I think it is incredibly important that we're honest and say we have to focus on national security. Don't go and lie to the American people to make them think we can't do this. You turn around and raise the debt limit. You're the one that's talked about, look at what you did to Florida, but think about the fact that he's talking about where's this money going to come from. The best way to tell about a candidate is to see how they've run their campaign. He has blown through $150 million. I don't even know how you do that.
He keeps hiring
through
Nazis.
his campaign. He has nothing to show for it. He spent more money on private planes than he has on commercials trying to get Iowans to vote for him. If you can't manage a campaign, how are you going to manage a country? Which is exactly
well, listen, I'm proud that in the state of Florida, we're ranked number 1 for economy of all 50 states by CNBC, number 1 for education. She was ranked number 50 in education when she was governor of California. And of course, she wasn't able to do school choice. She didn't deliver big tax cuts. We're also number 1 for net in-migration, number 1 for GDP growth amongst large states, number 1 for talent development, number 1 for new business formations, and on it goes. So the success we've had in Florida, I can cite the statistics. It's important, but just look how people are voting with their feet. They're leaving California, they're leaving Illinois, New York, all these states, and they're coming to Florida in record numbers because we're doing it right. And not only have I cut taxes big time, where she didn't, and governor of South Carolina, we've paid down 25% of our state's debt. That's how you manage the 3rd largest state in this country. Just imagine if we could do that for the United States of America.
So thank you. Let's stay on foreign policy.
Run it like Florida? So we want to run all of the entire federal government like one of those states. That's one of the
states which needs to be run a specific way to suit that state.
One of the states that's not even like for its size an economic powerhouse.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the biggest produce? Disney and oranges.
They're big. They're the big oranges. But you know who else does oranges? California.
Yeah.
You know.
Climate.
We don't need them.
You got to keep scurvy away somehow.
unequivocally support Israel. You both have
We
called for the
have
complete
California
elimination
oranges.
of Hamas. Governor DeSantis, there are real disagreements within Israel about how to handle what happens in Gaza after the war against Hamas is over. Some Israeli cabinet officials are pushing for the mass removal of Palestinians from Gaza. Governor Haley told CNN last week she does not support that. Do you?
So we got to support Israel in word and in deed, in public and in private. And they need to be able to finish the job. Joe Biden is kneecapping them. He'll say one thing, then he goes and his base doesn't like Israel, so he's got to do all these other things. This is a time to recognize that they suffered the most deaths of Jews, murder of Jews since the Holocaust. Hamas wants a second Holocaust. They want to annihilate the state of Israel. So I think to be a good ally, you back them in the decisions that they're making with respect
technically,
to Gaza.
Hamas doesn't want a Holocaust, but annihilating the state of Israel, yes. Like Hamas and Israel kind of have mirror policies here. Like Israel would rather not have to drop the bombs. They would just prefer if the Palestinians left on their own accord and they didn't have to do an effort. You know, Hamas would just prefer if all the Israeli left. You know, the destruction of the state of Israel doesn't necessarily mean, you know, but
killing the Jews. Yeah.
At the same time, why split hairs on this?
Yeah. No, exactly. It's kind of a weird point to make.
The weird one to me is the Zionist comeback to that framework is Israel's the only safe space for Jews. We have the equal population in New York. Shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. And guess where Jews are safer? I wrote that book. That's a great book.
I think they're safer in Israel, where they're like actively like just got slaughtered on October, right?
Yeah. So I say.
Apparently hostile neighbors all around him who hate them and want to them, and that's why Israel needs to be funded and saved all the time.
Yeah, the woe is me story.
Yeah, so shut the fuck up. You're in New York. Someone's gonna steal it. Who's gonna steal it?
With how you're doing this, but for us to be sitting in Washington, second guessing them, I don't think that's the right way. We also have a disagreement, Governor Haley and I. When she was at the UN, she supported the idea of a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinian Arabs. The problem with that is the Palestinian Arabs don't recognize Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. So doing a two-state solution doesn't
what Israel doesn't do.
Lead to a lasting.
Oh no, they do. They have the exact same policy as Israel. That's not fair.
And who has the power? That's the real question.
Peace, it creates a stepping stone for Israel's destruction. So under no circumstances as president am I going to pressure Israel to risk their security.
What would we do without Rhodesia?
Solution. She was wrong when she embraced that, and we're right to say we trust Israel to make these decisions. They're a good ally of ours. We should trust their judgment on these sensitive issues.
Governor DeSantis, 15 seconds. 15-second clarification. Do you support
I don't know
Palestinians from Gaza?
So as president, I'm not going to tell them to do that.
I'm not an expert on the Palestinian Authority, other than like they're basically the UN. You know, like they're worthless in this situation. They're not the ones actually fighting and accomplishing stuff. But they're also there so some deals can be made. You know, like they gotta actually at least keep the table open, and that's why they're there. They're just like literal placeholders. So the thing is, with them recognizing Israel, it depends on like they probably have a certain type of like rhetoric around it or something like that. Like this is Israel, but it's a disputed territory or something stupid.
There's a lot of issues.
Yeah, well, okay, so this the Saudi-Israeli deal. The thing is that there's a lot of stuff that could happen about it, but that's just like what's open to negotiation, not like what's possible. And you know, as much as they're like, we can't move forward with Hamas in power, you can't move forward with the Likud. They gotta go.
Yeah.
We need to, like, I mean, it's like we need. They're like, people will be like, why doesn't Palestine have a Nelson Mandela figure, right? He's in jail. Question. That's why they've had many. They've had many peaceful-based, anti-violence people who could speak for the Palestinians that would have been effective leaders to bring about solutions. They're in jail without charge.
That seems to be an issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of incentives for Israel and Saudi Arabia, but what we need to understand is the personality of the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. he only cares about being cool. And the coolest thing he could do is like help the Palestinians. He gets credit from like all the people, right? And the only people who still continue to hate him are the people who actually like stand up for fellow Muslims and actually fight against the regimes, aka terrorists.
Make the calculation that to avert a second Holocaust, they need to do that. I think some of these Palestinians, Saudi Arabia should take some. Egypt should take some. They've never been willing to accept any of these folks in their own neighborhood.
Thank you, Governor Haley.
Well, first of all, we need to understand the reason we need to support Israel is Israel's a
No. Don't. MBS doesn't care about human beings. He only cares about looking cool. You know, like it's not about it's not really about like him liking Palestinians or anything like that. He doesn't give a shit about them. He doesn't give a shit about anyone. He gives a shit about getting points on the world stage and expanding like influence and stuff. And in that regard, he's been a very good leader for Saudi Arabia. Like, what did the predecessor actually do? Nothing. They've done nothing.
Who was the predecessor?
It's his dad or something. It's the same lineage, you know, because like MBS like killed the people who were next in line and stuff, imprisoned his own mother and stuff. Total fuck with. You fucking
what a cunt.
That's why I compare to the Shah of Iran. They're the same type of person. The Shah of Iran only cared about status and being cool.
Yeah.
They are the tip of the spear when it comes to defeating terrorism. It has never been that Israel needs America. It has always been that America needs Israel.
No.
When I was at the United Nations, I fought every day for Israel. And if you would have listened to what I said at the United Nations, a two-state solution wasn't something that was possible because Israel would always come to the table and the Palestinians wouldn't. But right now, we have to make sure that Israel has the support that it needs. There should be three things. Give Israel whatever it wants to get the job done. 2, eliminate Hamas once and for all. And 3, do whatever it takes to bring the hostages home. But it's really rich that Ron is going to act like he suddenly cares for Israel when he brought the person to Iowa that's the most anti-Israel Republican in the state, the person that went and voted against Israel's right to exist in Congress, the person that voted with the squad against anti-Semitism on college campuses.
Thank you, Governor.
And you brought that person to Iowa to go and campaign with you. If that's your friends,
Governor
I'd hate to see
DeSantis,
who
she's
the rest
obviously
of your
referring to
friends are.
Congressman Tom Massey from Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's just cheap garbage. But here's the thing: when the attacks happened against Israel, I knew it was going to be a big deal for Florida. We have one of the largest Israeli American populations in the country, and we've been a haven for Orthodox Jews in particular since I've been governor. And you know what? Biden wasn't helping Americans get out of the war zone. These are people that were stranded. So I did an executive order. We scrambled planes, and we rescued over 700 Americans from Israel and brought them back safely to the state of Florida. You got to step up and you got to lead when things like this are happening. We also have gone after the anti-Semitism on our campuses. We did that early in my administration. You didn't see our college presidents doing some of the things that you've seen. I just announced in the State of the State address yesterday or 2 days ago that we are going to say, not
isn't
just
that funny? The State of the State,
Isn't
that funny that that's what they call it as governors?
Yeah, that's dumb. Call it something else
because they're not the union. They're it's the state of the country, but because we can't call them countries.
Yeah.
Around the country, we're going to waive the
we bought them free flights.
People can come to Florida and be safe. What they are doing to these Jewish students has been
we gave people 700 planes. Okay.
I'm coming to you. There are growing fears of this war escalating into a broader regional conflict. And Governor Haley, just yesterday, the U.S. Navy shot down 21 missiles and drones fired by
Eric Adams is the mayor, though. That's why
Iranian-backed militants are now also attacking U.S.
Careful, CNN, you'll get demonetized.
Western interests in Syria.
You should subscribe to us on Patreon for $1 because YouTube demonetized.
Yeah, because if you give perspective and analytics, they strike you.
It's pretty cool.
And Iraq. Your fellow South Carolinian Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is calling for the U.S. to conduct retaliatory strikes inside Iran. Would you order strikes?
Crazy. Lindsey Graham.
First of all, notice Ron didn't say anything about the fact that he did bring that most anti-Israel Republican into this state.
Lindsey Graham, honestly, as far as like
the only Republican Jewish state
those types of like Congress people go, it's like John McCain, and not that I agree with him, just saying best as in like what the Republicans want on foreign policy. He was like the best guy at driving at what that base wanted.
Yeah.
But like Lindsey Graham is also really, really good. So like he's outspoken and knowledgeable on a lot of things, but then you hear shit like we need to bomb Iran. Shut the fuck up, Lindsey.
Interesting that he's from the same state she was. She must have butted heads with him.
But like he he went after Trump when he pulled out of Kurdistan.
Yeah.
You know, and like the points that he makes is absolutely true. Where he's talking about like, if we betray these people, good luck trying to get anyone to trust the United States again in that region.
Yeah.
And he was also one of the proponents of calling out Turkey for what they were doing.
Okay. Not all bad then.
Left his campaign because he wasn't dealing with the neo-Nazi marches and wasn't dealing with
But
anti-Semitism.
he is like a neo-Nazi.
When it comes
as
to
well.
Iran, what we have to understand, there would be no
awful.
Hamas
He's an
without
evil
Iran.
man.
There would not be Houthis without Iran. There wouldn't be Hezbollah without Iran. And when you
That's Nikki. Did she say there's no Hamas without Iran before Houthis there?
Syria would not be Houthis without Iran. There wouldn't be Hezbollah without Iran. And when you left neo-Nazi, there would be no Hamas without Iran. There would not be Houthis without Iran.
There would be Hamas without Iran. There would be Houthis without Iran. There would be Hezbollah without Iran. Like,
it's just opportunistic.
Awful examples.
Iran.
Like I literally was just like, I wrote an analysis because there was retaliatory strikes against the Houthis. Supposedly, I mean, we have pictures of bombs. You know, I haven't checked my updates in a minute. Yes, Graham was calling out Turkey out of U.S. interest. Yeah, that's why I said it's not that I agree with his policy. I'm saying he knows enough to represent what his base actually wants in these situations, like how McCain was. McCain advocated for bombing Iran as well. But McCain was also like 100% right when you talk about things like Putin. You know, so like Lindsey Graham will have those moments as well. Just not as many, like, and it's like so weird, like being like McCain had W's on certain things, you know, but it's like, McCain is the reason we have Obamacare, not Obama. McCain gave us that, you know.
Without Iran. And when you look at the strikes that are happening in Iraq and Syria.
But anyway, I was wanted to say about the Houthis, right? So the Houthis may get funding from Iran, but they would be able to secure the shit on their own, not on the degree that they have, right? Hezbollah control an entire state. They came up in a war against Israel, right? They had there was a lot more involvement than just Iran there. And like Hamas is fucking Muslim Brotherhood. Like they literally are not in the IRGC nexus whatsoever at all.
I got that wrong as well.
The IRGC has a way more authority over the Houthis out of all these people. Hezbollah suck their dick. Hezbollah could be independent if they wanted to. They just love the taste of the Iranian cock, though. The regime cock, I should say. But the Houthis themselves have a great deal of autonomy and their own interests. A lot of the things that they have done are not in the interest of Iran, but in the interest of their values. Now, what's the thing about these strikes is that Iran has been also involved. So like the Houthis are now paying for things that Iran did. That's not exactly a good friend.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bombed because my friend is doing things.
Need to do is the idea that we've had over 130 strikes on our men and women in Iraq and Syria is
untouched. Oh, fuck off. Come on, Nikki. Come on. Oh, the IRGC gave us good cushy wushies in Iraq and Syria. Okay.
And take out every bit of the production that they had that's allowing them to do.
Oh my God, they literally do.
That we do that.
They literally.
And you can't do that if you have a Secretary of Defense that is in ICU and the president doesn't even know about it. What bothers me is how does Biden not talk to his Secretary of Defense every single day, knowing that we have a war in Europe, a war in the Middle East.
Why is Biden concerned?
Let her talk.
Let CENTCOM do what they're doing.
Brain injuries. My husband is deployed right now. As a military spouse, the idea that the Secretary of Defense would not even be in contact with the president, much less in contact with his staff,
you know this narrative, right? The Secretary of Defense was hospitalized, right? And like there's a narrative that they didn't find out for 3 days. He's hospitalized because of like complications and stuff relating to prostate cancer. Nobody knew he had prostate cancer. This has now come out because of this fall. He didn't want people to know that. It's within his HIPAA rights, bro. Shut up. I thought you were the HIPAA rights people. Like the dude was hospitalized because of pain too, right? Because like he's like over the cancer, he's still just in complications, I think. But like, okay.
After the attacks against Israel, anyone with half a brain knows Iran is behind this. They fund Hamas, they fund Hezbollah. We did a special session in the legislature down in Florida. We expanded sanctions against Iran. If we were our own country, we'd be the 14th largest economy in the world. The root of this is Biden came into office and he relaxed the sanctions on Iran. They've had massive amounts of money flooding into their country, just like under the Obama administration. They take that money and they use it to fund jihad around the world. I'm the only one running for president that served in the armed forces. I deployed to Iraq back in 2007, 2008. So I understand what our military goes through.
You were a fucking JAG lawyer, bro.
Like Biden is doing.
This is like the Bill Burr thing, the joke where it's like the guy who points, is he really a hero? The guy who's just pointing where the aircraft should be going.
They got. If you harm a hair on the head of one of our service members, you are going to have hell to pay. He's leaving them out to dry, and I think it's
because it's specifically related to concussy wussies. We care about the hair on the head in this situation.
From Des Moines, Iowa, we'll be right back after this. Go to CNN.com for real-time debate analysis. Stay with us.
Do we care what this guy has to say?
No, not really.
Okay, so that was the first, I believe, first 45 minutes or so of the debate. Just a few things that I think are worth noting. It is like this. Let's make tax at million. We won't be able to afford IRS, which does audits on breathable function. That's just again, and just do that. I don't think they might have a legal.
And educate
protect our kids
and private entities that take actions that don't align with conservative values. Governor DeSantis, you used your powers in Florida to take on Disney after the company criticized an education bill that you signed into law.
Yes,
How
that
does
was a mistake.
Square with the traditional conservative view that small, limited government is best.
The proper role.
You famously said that the name Fredo was like the N-word for Italians.
Yes, that was a mistake.
And I've stood for the innocence of our kids. It is wrong. It is wrong to sexualize the curriculum. It's wrong. My wife and I, we've got a first grader, kindergartner, and a preschooler. This is something that's important to us personally. It's wrong to tell a kindergartner, like Disney wanted to do, that you can change your gender, or tell a third grader that you're born in the wrong body.
Yes, so Disney wants to go to all the kindergartners and tell them that they can change their genders. That's definitely Disney's main MO. That's definitely what they want to do.
Top priority.
Did you say tuck priority? I agree. It is a tuck priority.
I will not correct myself.
I know what you said. I was
Florida. Most people, most corporate Republicans would have caved. I stood and I fought for the kids. We took on Disney and we defeated that and we won that fight. And our kids are better off. Now, Nikki Haley sided with Disney.
I killed Mickey Mouse in front of all those children. He's dead now. I tortured him to death.
But I think that's similar. She is representative of this corporatist element of the party. For example, she supported $900 million in subsidies.
Bugs Bunny is Warner Brothers. Epic fail.
When she got out of office, she took a seat on their board and she made millions of dollars. Then she gave speeches, paid speeches to a lot of Wall Street interests, didn't publish what she said. We don't know what she promised them. And she made millions of dollars doing that. Now they're the ones that are funding her campaign.
She made speaking fees and made millions of dollars, bro. You made your money by torturing people.
You know why he's salty? Because nobody wants to pay to hear him talk.
The people and not bow down to woke corporations. And we know Nikki Haley will cave to the woke mob every single time.
Yep.
Governor Haley, a response?
Because there's definitely one of those.
Government was intended to secure the rights and freedoms of the people. It was never meant to be all things to all people. And what we don't need is government politicizing anything.
The woke mob is the new gay mob.
Again, DeSantisLies.com, because I have never said anything related to the transgender stuff he says. I have always fought to protect kids. I've always said that boys need to go into boys' bathrooms, girls need to go into girls' bathrooms, that we shouldn't have any gender transitions before the age of 18.
We've heard this all before.
Just like we don't have tattoos before the age of 18. We shouldn't have gender transformation or puberty blockers. But I will tell you that it's really interesting that Ron talks about this Disney, because Disney has been woke for a long time. It's other people's money, and you have to know how to handle it. If he can't handle the financial parts of a campaign, how's he going to handle the economy when it comes to the White House? And he goes and he has been demeaning me over and over again, telling lies, DeSantisLies.com, because he thinks it makes him look bigger. But in the one basic thing, you've campaigned for president in one state, you're invisible in New Hampshire, you're invisible in South Carolina, you're in 5th place, you've got $150 million, and you've gone down in the polls in Iowa. Why should we think you can manage or do anything in this country?
Hey, stop fighting. Nothing that
Are
you
you talking to the rats?
Damn, they're cooking them.
This is a great window into leadership because she focused on a lot of political process stuff, things that no voter cares about. And she couldn't tell you why she failed to deliver school choice to people in her state after she promised it. So she says somehow that is indicative of, no, leadership is about producing results. We've produced the results in Florida. We did universal school choice. We cut taxes. We banned sanctuary cities. On and on down the line, everything I promised I delivered. She doesn't have a rationale for why she couldn't get it done. That is poor leadership. You look at me, everything I promised I would do, I've delivered, and you can expect nothing less when I'm the president of the United States.
We're gonna move on now.
I need to respond to that. Go ahead.
He doesn't really
So
believe
you want to
that.
talk about leadership, and he wants to go and demean and put down. Let me tell you what leadership is. Leadership is the fact that I went into South Carolina that had 11% unemployment rate. Leadership is the fact that we turned it into an economic powerhouse, building planes, building cars, building tires. We were named the Beast of the Southeast. We moved the 11% unemployment down to 4%. We announced jobs in every county in the state. We moved 35,000 people on welfare to work. We changed our prison system to where we now have the lowest recidivism rate in the country.
I kind of like how she's working here. I like what she's doing.
We did pension reform. We paid.
Will you two stop fighting already?
We made sure that people were proud again. We did E-Verify in the first 6 months, not 5 years like Ron. So don't go and pick on school choice and say that that's leadership. When I got to the UN, we cut $1 billion off the top, and we took the kick me son off of our backs, and America was respected again at the UN. I know what leadership is.
We're moving on to
She loves that line.
that both of you have made central to your campaigns, and that is China. Governor Haley, American farmers were hurt by former President Trump's trade war with China. As a result, his administration paid out $28 billion in subsidies to farmers. You have vowed to be even tougher than Donald Trump on China. If your trade policies also end up hurting America's farmers, are you prepared to cut a check just like he did?
Well, that's why Trump should be here on this debate stage. He should have to defend it. So first of all, I've said China is our #1 national security threat. I fought them every single day at the United Nations.
Why exactly do the Houthis care so much about Hamas? So we have actually gone into this extensively with experts, like on our New Year's show. A big part of that was talking about the relationships between these groups. But more or less, to summarize, it's not so much the Houthis care about Hamas. The founder, Mr. Houthi, as we like to call him, he was very much of that old school pro-Palestine. So like the Houthis are more of a nationalist group than a lot of the other ones. So, well, I mean, Hezbollah are too, but they're drug dealers. Hamas is a nationalist group before an Islamist group, you know, but the Houthis are as well. So the old cause of Palestine is kind of one, and especially the anti-Semitism. They are way more anti-Semitic than Hamas. Way more. They're like, I mean, they put it right in their logo, you know? So it's more of principles, like that these are actually their values to like help the Palestinian people, and that in turn means helping Hamas. It's not that they don't like Hamas or that they do like Hamas. The Hamas are just their partners in the region, so that's who they work with.
Is we have to make sure we stop selling them any land and we take back the land they already purchased. We need to go to our universities and we say, you either take Chinese money or you take American money, but the days of taking both are over. We need to stop all of the technologies that are going to China. Biden approved 70% of them. Trump approved even more than that. We have to tell them we're going to end all normal trade relations with them until they stop murdering Americans with fentanyl. And we need to make sure we build up our military. But the biggest thing, I was very attached to China in terms of trade. And the one thing we'll do is we won't wait for the China to pull the rug out from under us.
She was just wasn't she just saying shit about like being real? The only time she's real is when she was talking about the budget with Ukraine, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just said the whole shit about Taiwan. Connect your rhetoric, girl. Like, what are you doing? This is so sloppy.
Yeah,
bring it back circle. Like, you should be talking about how that technology is killing Ukrainians because China buys all our fucking Dell computers and those go into the fucking drone chips. Like, it's so easy to talk about technology. And it's like, it's already crazy to attack Biden on this specifically because he has cut down a lot of specific technology, you know, because we don't want to limit everything because we still want to make money. But to then be like, it's about fentanyl. Shut the fuck up. It's literally a national security thing. Wrap it back around. Fuck off.
We will move that trade to where we have friends. We will go and build partnerships. India, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Australia, Israel. We will go and move that trade over. Right now, you can ask our farmers. When they go and they buy from China, China orders cancels the order, then goes and tries to buy it cheap. That's what China does. Our farmers deserve better than that. We will get them trade deals. When I was governor in South Carolina, we sold and we exported everything we were making in South Carolina. When I'm president, we will
how much
sell
money
and
we're
export
able to like
everything
make
that's
with grain, bro? Not like other countries, but like
probably a decent amount.
Dude, are like subsidizing on grain and stuff like that. Oh my god, crazy! You know, we're so privileged to have the ability to not only have the resources but have the fertile land, and also, you know, because like a lot of countries, it's like you either have the resources or you have the farming.
Well, it's because America's so big; it covers so many climates.
Yeah,
that it really has everything.
Like, and like you can be as like Russia's big too, but it's all the same climate, you know.
To those that are our friends, not our enemies.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Your response.
Indonesia's huge too.
The way you deal with China is threefold. One, we need more hard power in the Indo-Pacific. I'm a Navy guy.
Again,
We need
hard
more sea
power.
power. We're going to
Bro.
build that up.
Really? Okay, Joe Biden.
And we're going to have a strategy to deny their ability to invade Taiwan or to get beyond the first island chain. On the current course, they're going to take advantage of Biden, and we're going to rue the day when that happens. Second, we got to decouple our economy, particularly things that are nationally significant to our national survival.
It's so funny because like China literally is starting to like bend over for Biden at this point. Like they're the ones coming around to Biden because he's being so effective with them.
Yeah, they're literally. I mean, shit. Xi literally went to America. When was the last fucking time he did that? Let alone anywhere else. Years. So it's like, yeah, he must be doing something right. At the very least.
Strategic about it. There's a lot of moving parts there, but we're going to do that. Nikki Haley's not going to be able to do that because a lot of her supporters make a lot of money in China. And so she's going to talk tough, but she'll cave on that. And then also with here in the United States, she's saying they shouldn't be buying land and be in the universities. When she was governor of South Carolina, the state gave China land and they were in the universities. As governor in Florida, I banned China from buying land and we kicked them out of our universities. That's what you want to do.
DeSantisLies.com. He has an economic development arm. You had an office in Hong Kong. On the website, it said that Florida is a great place to do for Chinese companies to do business. And then when we called you out on it, you had the website scrubbed. So we know that that's the case. What I will tell you is we need to focus on what we're going to do to become less dependent on China. And we need to make sure that we look at it through a national security lens. When we had COVID, everybody told you to wear a mask. It was made in China. They told you to take a COVID test. You turned it over. It was made in China. If you go down the
eat
drug
the
store
bugs.
aisle,
Eat the bugs, woman. Here she goes, controlled by Klaus Schwab to eat the bugs.
In any way threatened. But I'll tell you, Ron continues to sit there and talk about China. He has done expansions in China. His biggest donor that is backed by China gave them $340,000. So don't go and talk about donors and money. Go to DeSantisLies.com and we'll tell you all about it.
Governor DeSantis, I know your record hurts.
My record doesn't hurt. He's an economic power.
You're talking the opposite. You made a big effort to bring them into the state. They had land near a military base. You were in front of the Chinese flag saying you work for them. You wrote a love letter to the ambassador. That's well documented. You were the #1 Republican governor in the country. And even people that on the media who are hostile to me, they say they can't find one instance of me as governor recruiting a Chinese company because I haven't done it. It's not been part of that. And the Enterprise Florida, we actually eliminated. So here's the thing, though. She's backed by companies like BlackRock. She's backed by major companies on Wall Street. They make a lot of money in China. There's a reason why you're in the mess you are in terms of trying to deal with the inflation and everything, because the elites in this country have sold out the middle of the country for China. She is part of that now, and she's not going to stand up for you.
Governor DeSantis, I want to ask about something that you mentioned you've been talking a lot about on the campaign trail, which is decoupling the U.S. economy with China's. China is a top supplier of goods to the United States. The U.S. sells more than $150 billion of goods to China every year. Is it really possible to sever economic ties without inflicting major pain on American business and American consumers?
Sure it is. And it's something that you got to be strategic. You got to be methodical about. You got to focus on the things that are of national significance. For example, I don't think it's a good idea that the pharmaceuticals come from there. Things for our military weaponry, all these important things that we got into a worldwide conflict. What we're going to ask China, who may be on the other side of that, to continue doing that. So you got to be smart about it. You got to recognize
the information narrative from the Houthis right now is that they shot down an F-22. They're just saying that. Isn't that funny?
That is hilarious. There's no way.
Trump says, yeah, they were started by Biden. They said that in
It's like-
World War
there's
III. A complete
no
madman is
chance.
using the War Powers Act against Yemen with F-22 jets and Tomahawk missiles. Why? Wars in just a short time. Okay, Trump.
I apologize for his impression.
Aren't you pressed that he took him off the terror list?
Maybe.
That you put him on, Trump?
Recognize that you're going to have to do some incentives here in this country, tax incentives, regulatory incentives, but I want to make things here again. You know, I look around the country, there's parts of Iowa that have been hollowed out, particularly in the eastern part. And I've talked to folks and seen what that did for the community. We were sold a bill of goods by a lot of elites in this country that somehow putting China in the WTO and granting a most favored nation status was going to lead to our manufacturing exporting a bunch of stuff there. Instead, they've gobbled up so much more manufacturing. I don't think you can be a first-rate power unless you have a very strong.
Who the
industrial
fuck
base.
said
We're gonna do
that?
here. We're going to work on
Who the
workforce
fuck said, hey, you know
Everyone
who
needs to
should
do
be a
before you-
great import economy for us exporting China? If that's like one of those situations, that's your economic minister. It's like that guy needs to be shot. Like, shoot
Just
that
take
guy.
him at the back.
You got to put him
Brick and
down.
Ivy University. That's not the best way or only way for people to succeed. We're going to do skilled trades. We're going to do vocational. We've done that in Florida. It's going to be a really, really big thing. But I just think the middle of the country has to have those good paying jobs. And we can't put the interests of some of the people on Wall Street over the interests of Americans on Main Street.
Let's move on to Social Security.
Yeah,
Let's
nice
move on to
talking
Social
point,
Security.
okay.
According to the Social Security Administration, Social Security will be unable to pay full benefits in a decade if no action is taken.
Wow.
Governor DeSantis, you have said that you're not going to, quote, mess with Social Security, unquote. Does that mean you have committed to never raising the retirement age and never cutting benefits?
So all seniors out there, promise has been made to you. You've paid into this. Every single paycheck that you've had your entire life, they've taken money out of, and that promise needs to be fulfilled. So that will happen when I'm president. Of course, I have a lot of seniors in Florida that depend on Social Security. I know many of them. And I think back to my own grandmother who was lived till 91. Social Security was her sole source of income. So promise made,
Poor
promise
woman
kept.
had to deal
on
with
the
him
retirement age, it
for
used
that
to be
long
people
at
would
that
say,
age.
well, life expectancy is
Damn.
going up. Shouldn't it mirror that? Well, the problem now in the last 5 years is life expectancy is going down. So I don't see how you can raise the retirement age when our life expectancy is collapsing in this country. That's a huge
Oh my
problem
God,
in and of
COVID
itself.
statistic.
I'll work with both sides of the aisle.
Manipulated
We'll work on
COVID
something for the
statistic.
long-term strengthening, but I am not going to mess with seniors' benefits. In this high inflation environment, groceries are going through the roof. Rent is going through the roof, all these staples, and you get a cost of living adjustment, but that's not enough to cover the costs that have been increased. So seniors are really strapped, particularly those that are on fixed income, and they have to know that we're going to deliver when it comes to their Social Security check. Now, we're going to get inflation down. We're going to get energy costs down. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to help seniors, but I think seniors should know promise made will be a promise kept.
So just a point of clarification, 15 seconds. Removing current seniors from the
Point of personal
equation,
privilege.
you're not saying that you're committing to never raising the retirement age or cutting benefits.
I would never raise the retirement age in the face of declining life expectancy. I mean, I think that would be really bad.
Oh, okay, in the face of declining life expectancy.
Past your
Okay,
entire
so
life
next year when the
expectancy's down,
stats
you may not
change
even
and
be
they're not
recouping
COVID
very many
numbers.
benefits. And so
Fucking Jesus Christ. What a point to make.
Thank
life
you, Governor.
expectancy is
Thank you,
declining.
Governor.
That's a big
Governor
problem.
Haley?
3 years in a row, he voted to raise life expectancy to 70 years old. 3 years in a row. Go to DeSantisLies.com and you'll see it. So
Oh my
now
God, shut
suddenly
up.
he's going to tell you because he's running for president, he's not going to do it. You can't trust him. What I'll tell you, Social Security is going to go bankrupt in 10 years. Medicare is going to go bankrupt in 8. He talks about taking care of seniors. Right now, it's Florida. Is the inflation hotspot. It's the highest cost of living of any state in the country. Seniors are having to leave because they can't afford it. It's documented in DeSantisLies.com. What I'll tell you, we have to do is we have to keep our promises to seniors, but we also can't put our head in the sand. For those like Ron saying they're not going to touch Social Security, that means they're going to leave after 4 or 8 years and leave it bankrupt. No, what we do is we go to those in their 20s and say we're going to change the retirement age to reflect life expectancy. Instead of cost of living increases, we do increases based on inflation. We limit benefits on the wealthy,
Thank you,
and we
Governor.
expand Medicare Advantage plans, which seniors love.
Thank you,
That's
Governor.
how we'll deal with
So,
making sure they have it.
reducing the benefits, when you do the change in calculation, reducing the benefits. So let's just put this in perspective. Under her administration, you would have seniors getting less cost of living adjustments while your tax dollars are going to pay the pensions of Ukrainian bureaucrats.
That's not true.
You talk about
That's
putting
such a
Americans
lie.
last. That is wrong. You've supported all that
What
money
an
going over there.
asshole.
So let's put
You're
our
so
own people
desperate.
first.
Not the
You're
best
so
source.
desperate.
Governor Haley, let him
And she
speak.
also said, she said recently that the age of Social Security is way too low. And I criticized that. And then she was called on it. And
It's
then
like,
she said she
yeah,
never said it. Of course, you're lying. And then
they're paying for the people who help track the weapons to make sure they're going to the right people. Bad.
And sure enough, you put on the interview where she's there, spit an image, and she says it's way too low. So, we can play this song and dance. She has a record. She makes statements. And I think part of the problem with her,
what is the best
candidacy is
way to
now that she's
describe
getting
what the
scrutiny,
Houthis are doing?
she's got this problem with ballistic podiatry,
honestly,
shooting herself in the foot every other day.
Honestly, what they are doing meets a classical definition of terrorism because there's both a political and economic incentive to the violence they're doing against civilian vessels. That said, we do not want to put them on the terrorist list because we need to work with them. They're the de facto state right now in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is trying to broker this deal with them. So while it is pretty clear-cut terrorism, to start throwing that word around is something we're probably not going to see. So they're going to say things like attacking vessels or seizing vessels. They're never going to say like, IRG. Some right-wing outlets will say like IRGC link or Iranian linked Houthi rebels.
Yeah.
But the thing is that their attacks aren't necessarily like effective. Like they're like China does a lot of shit that the Houthis have done on a regular basis to fishing vessels. So like it really depends. They definitely meet the definition for it though.
And saying things that now she doesn't even take questions from people.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis. Governor Haley, you want to raise the retirement age for younger Americans, but you have not said what that age should be. Should voters in their 20s plan on working until they're 70?
First of all,
Yes.
he hasn't answered the fact that he voted to raise the retirement age to 73 different times. He can call me whatever name and be demeaning as much as he wants. It doesn't change the fact that Ron's lying because Ron's losing. Everybody in the country sees it for what it is. So what I'll tell you is, yes, we're going to be responsible with
I
it.
wouldn't
and we're gonna
necessarily
go to
say
those in
that's the plan. But at this point, if everything is going well, that's what we'll see. Because they're not Iran. It's so you deal with them completely differently. Like Iran is like so childish that they won't even meet in the same room. So you have to like call in like all these people to talk to Iran and play the telephone game and stuff like that. Like these people will answer the phone. They'll talk to you. So because of that, like I said in my analysis, the best thing that we want to see, like for right now, the Houthis said pay a heavy price, and that's good. That's exactly what Iran has said about America killing Qasem Soleimani, and all they've done is kill Ukrainians.
Yeah.
So that's generally if they're like, we'll get you back for this, we'll have our revenge, and then they just constantly farm on that and constantly play themselves as the victims and like act like they shot down and like resisted the Americans, and the reason why this stopped is because the Americans are too scared to fuck with the Houthis because the Houthis showed them who's boss. Like they can take a serious win on their narratives, and because they're attached to the IRGC, they have a lot of benefit by doing that because they'll have those things in line where the IRGC's media or apparatus is there to help escalate them. So basically, yes, the plan is just basically do nothing. The Houthis are going to determine what happens though. If they escalate, it's just like how Iran determined. Iran wouldn't be bombed in Iraq and Syria if they just didn't give soldiers concussive wasis. Like, just don't do it. And then, like, we literally only bomb their facilities after a rocket attack.
Our 20s. When I said the retirement age was too low, again, where he's lying, it's because if you go, and you can go to DeSantisLies.com, I said it's too low if we're going to look at those in their 20s. We have to go and start looking at what we can do to get out of this. We want to make sure that everybody who was promised gets it, but we also want to make sure our kids have something when they get it too. So the way we do that is exactly how I laid it out. Then we'll know what we're looking at, and then we can start focusing. The other thing is we need to start cutting spending in DC. We have to go back to pre-COVID levels.
We have a name for the banner, by the way.
She repeated herself, huh? Oh,
we have a name for the banner.
You can update it if you want. We need to jump forward though, because she's repeating herself. They've ran out of things to say.
10 minutes?
Yes, yes, sir.
Like anti-woke tirade, and then Jake Tapper is going to ask him for clarification to actually answer the question, and then we'll have the lightest tap from DeSantis against Trump. Here we go.
Let's talk about how you view the powers of the presidency, because your opponent Donald Trump was in court yesterday for a hearing on presidential immunity. And Governor DeSantis, I'm wondering if you agree with the argument that Donald Trump's lawyer made in court that a president should have immunity for any conduct in office, including, as the judge asked, ordering the assassination of a political rival.
This was so wild. They literally argued in court that Trump would be justified in using SEAL teams to kill political opponents.
What the fuck?
They literally argued that in court. You're arguing to try and get like him through on like political immunity for like a crime that you're pretending didn't happen and it wasn't actually a crime and he wasn't connected with. And you're being like, yeah, he can kill whoever he wants. You know who he sounded like?
Strange.
You know who that sounds like, though?
Putin. No idea. Who?
It would be constitutional for the government to target and kill any U.S. citizen with a drone or with a shotgun without due process.
That's Trump.
Unless the president gets
pretty much
impeached and convicted by the Senate for the offense first.
Well, obviously, that attorney gave the case away on that explanation. I think the D.C. Circuit is going to rule against Donald Trump on that issue. I'm not exactly sure what the outer limits are.
He's right.
Necessarily been litigated.
Hey, it's a legal opinion. He's a lawyer. He's right.
I'm always going to follow the Constitution, and we're going to uphold the best traditions of the office. And I'm going to be a president you can be proud of. I think it's important that people be able to look at the president and say,
just imagine if this dude was able to actually answer a question.
And so my wife and I, we just
that's what I've been saying.
For our kids and to make sure they're proud of us, and we set a good example. So
I should have his job
in that situation. But I think there's a larger issue Republicans have got to think of. Donald Trump's going to lose that appeal. He's going to end up going to trial in front of a stacked left-wing D.C. jury of all Democrats. What are the odds that he's going to get through that?
Did someone verbally laugh there?
I don't think he gets through that. And so what are we going to do as Republicans in terms of
Come on.
Yeah. You got fucking cocked.
I broke it.
Oh
it
my
broke.
God.
It's breaking down. It's dead. It's done.
Jack is Gandalfian. What does that even mean?
It killed itself.
D.C. jury of all Democrats. What are the odds that he's going to get through that? And that's even talking about the validity of the charges. I don't think he gets through that. And so what are we going to do as Republicans in terms of who we nominate for president? If Trump is the nominee, it's going to be about January 6th, legal issues, criminal trials. The Democrats and the media would love to run with that. I'm not running for my issues. I'm running for your issues. We need to make this election
Shut up.
The failures of Joe Biden, the failures of the Democratic Party, and how we have the formula to engineer a great comeback for this country. That's what I would do.
Thank you, Governor. Governor Haley. Governor Haley, your response?
Not exactly a response.
I didn't hear the question.
The question was, do you agree with the argument Donald Trump's lawyer made in court that a president should have immunity for any conduct, including an ordering the assassination of a political rival, unless that president is impeached and convicted by the Senate for that offense first?
No, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we need to use some common sense here. You can't go and kill a political rival and then claim, immunity from a president. I think we have to start doing things that are right. And, Ron said we should have leaders that we can look up to. Well, then stop lying, because nobody's going to want to look up to you if you're lying. But what I do think we need to look at is what has President Trump done?
Trump is the front runner, Nikki.
Years. And our country is completely divided. It's divided over extremes. It's divided over hatred. It's divided over the fact that people think that if someone doesn't agree with you, that they're bad. And now we have leaders in our country that decide who's good and who's bad, who's right and who's wrong. That's not what a leader does. What a leader does is they bring out the best in people and get them to see the way forward. That's what we need in our country. We don't need this chaos anymore. We need someone who's going to be a new generational leader that brings sanity back to America.
Thank you so much. The CNN Republican presidential debate.
Restore the sanity is an awesome slogan that Jon Stewart used.
Okay, one issue that I wanted to talk about. First of all, like for Ron DeSantis to equivocate on that question, this is a question that was brought up in the DC Appeals Court Donald Trump is claiming that anything a president does while he's in office is he's protected by presidential immunity. And so in
Is that
theory,
an actual
you
thing?
could assassinate your political rival and you're completely
Trump
covered by
has long
presidential
said,
immunity unless you're impeached and convicted by the Senate, in
No,
which case then you could be criminally prosecuted, which is a bogus.
No.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard him say that.
There's a clause in the Constitution, that's Article 2, that gives us, it's fairly open-ended, that it gives the president political immunity for these things.
Ah, okay.
And if he really thought he had
standard.
political immunity, he wouldn't be thinking about partying himself on the way out.
True.
Definitely appreciated.
Welcome back to the CNN presidential debate live from Iowa Drake University. Let's start this with healthcare. Neither of you has released a detailed healthcare plan, so we want to give some voters here some insight into specifics of what you might do as president. Governor Haley, as governor of South Carolina, you chose not to expand Medicaid under Obamacare. 40 states, including this one where we are in Iowa, did expand Medicaid, covering more than 18 million Americans. As president, would you allow those states to keep their expansions in place?
Well, the first thing is we have to look at the fact that how can we be the best country in the world with the most expensive healthcare in the world? And so the way we're going to deal with it is we're going to open it all up. From the hospitals to the insurance companies, to the doctor's offices, to the pharmaceuticals, to the PBMs, make them have to show us everything. Because right now, I can tell you, we take care of my parents. They're 87 and 90. My dad is in the hospital right now. When my mom was in the hospital, a nurse came up to her to give her a couple of Tylenol. And she said, I don't need them. And she said, honey, you might as well take them because you're going to pay for them anyway. When we got the bill from the hospital, no one talked to us about that. Right now, you have insurance companies and hospitals deciding what it is for us. We're going to take the patient out of the back seat and put them in the driver's seat. We're going to make sure that just like when you get your car fixed and you go and they say, we can give you a temporary fix and it'll cost this much money, or we can give you a permanent fix and it's going to cost that much money. We're going to go and make it transparent so that we can see everything so that they have to show us their warts. The second thing is we're going to pass tort reform around this country. I did that in South Carolina. Doctors don't give you those 10 tests because they want to. It's for the 90% chance they'll get sued. And then we're going to go and eliminate certificate of need in this country. I did that in South Carolina as well. That basically says if you have a hospital here, you can't have another hospital for X number of miles. They do the same thing for surgical centers, for nursing homes. We're going to put competition back in healthcare so that healthcare is fighting for the patient. That way services go up and costs go down.
You know what? I'm fine with that. That's not bad.
I wasn't listening.
That they're basically removing anti-competitive laws that stop hospitals being built within certain distances of other hospitals and etc. So get rid of that so you can have multiple pharmacies or multiple hospitals in one county or whatever instead of just one hospital. Which, sure. Good luck finding the nurses, but sure.
Down. Governor Haley, just a 15-second point of clarification. Would you allow the states
He's
that
doing the
accepted
pigeon
Medicaid
thing.
expansion to keep that?
So the problem with Medicaid is it needs to be sent down as block grants. Governors can best decide how to do that, whether they need to use it towards mental health, whether they need to use it towards support services.
This is
right
what
now,
I, like
I would
about
send
Nikki
all of that
Haley's
down to the
rhetoric.
states.
Her default mode is just going to be states' rights, and that's why she fucked up on the Civil War question, right? But it's not that I agree and like the rhetoric again. I'm saying like for what I want the base of the Republican to be, I just don't want them to. I want them to just go back and be normal, weird, racist people, and not like mega racist people. Like,
yeah,
just
regular old racists.
Just stop. Just back up a little and go back to the fucking dog whistle shit. Come on.
Yeah. Hi, do you want to know how to fix this? Stop.
Problem is they're only sending a small portion of it. They need to send more of that so the states can better take care of it.
Governor DeSantis, your response on whether you would allow Iowa and the other 39 states who accepted Medicaid expansion to keep it.
Well, I've spoken with a lot of folks here in Iowa, and we need healthcare that's accessible, that's affordable, and that's accountable, and particularly an emphasis on mental health. In every corner of this state, everywhere I've traveled in the campaign, people are really concerned about mental health with the kids in schools, people that are coming out of service to our country, with veterans. We're going to put a big emphasis on mental health. I've actually delivered on some of these things in Florida. We got accountability for the pharmacy benefit middlemen that are causing your drug prices to go up. So we have transparency and consumers pay less. And I just beat the federal government to allow the state of Florida to buy prescription drugs from Canada, which is 25 cents on the dollar what our prescription drugs cost. I want seniors to be able to do. And then finally, we need to upend this COVID and medical authoritarian regime that we saw going around this country during COVID. It's wrong.
DeSantis is probably going to have better record to call on when it comes to this, just because of the seniors in Florida. Like he's going to, by default, have to do these things to help seniors because, I mean, that's like the voter base. Like you have to do them first in Florida.
COVID shot and say people are going to lose their jobs. That is not going to ever happen on my watch. Trust
Governor
me.
DeSantis, the same.
I think what you do is you block grant the program and then let states run the way they see fit to do. But I can tell you this, expanding Medicaid leads to less private coverage. It doesn't necessarily increase access to quality care. I want to actually get good health care. It's not just about a sheet of paper. If you don't get any good doctors,
Thank you, Governor.
You're entitled for that.
Governor DeSantis mentioned mental health. Let's talk about that. There is a mental health crisis in this country. An estimated 58 million Americans suffer from some type of mental illness. Governor Haley, you say the mental health crisis is a, quote, cancer that no one has dealt with. What do you think is causing the crisis, and what would you do to fix it?
Well, I think we saw it
It
exacerbated
scared
by
him, and he
COVID.
fucking
with the school
literally like
lockdowns and everything else.
kicked back
We see
off
young
the
people
wall
now with
mid
more
jump
anxiety,
and
stress, and depression than
like
ever before.
went to the
1
other
in
side of the
3
room.
people right now suffer from mental health issues, but if treated, they can live a perfectly normal life. The problem is we don't have enough mental health therapists. We don't have enough mental health treatment centers. We don't have enough addiction centers. And if you happen to be lucky enough to get one of those 3, insurance doesn't cover it. We have got to start dealing with this because it's become a huge issue.
He's right.
And that's why we need to have more telehealth so that people can get the mental health care they need right when they need it. We need to have mental health counselors in schools so they can identify when a child has a problem, that they can get the help that they need. But right now we've got to get.
Huh?
Telehealth is garbage.
No, of course. But more hospitals and more clinics means more therapists, I guess.
Whatever.
Access to care. And that's, again, why I want to move those federal programs down to the state level, because states know they need more mental health support. They're not getting the dollars to do it. We don't need DC bureaucrats handling that.
Will
we
the
need
states
this on the
do
ground
it,
so that we can get
though?
the mental health centers, get the therapists, and get the help that people need so that they can be healthy again.
Governor DeSantis, you said right here in Iowa this summer that closing mental health institutions, a policy supported by Ronald Reagan, was a mistake. As president, would you restore federal funding to those mental health institutions?
Yes, we need more people in institutionalized settings, unfortunately. But, you know, Governor Haley mentioned, I think correctly, the devastating mental health consequences for these school closures, a lot of things that happened.
Yeah, that's
COVID.
that's what the normal bark sounds like. He really only does it. BG doesn't do it. But normally they do it. He did not like that when I scared him. Normally they do it like when they're sleeping.
Yeah.
Because they like get woken up by a loud noise or they have a bad dream. That's normally when he'll do it.
It's like the dog when he's sleeping, he'll react while he's dreaming and he'll like bark and shit. It's funny.
Zapata.
He's not happy with
mad. He's so mad.
Seeing her out there fighting the fight. I was on the front lines on that. Governor Kim Reynolds was on the front lines on that. We fought back against the biomedical state. We were attacked by the media. We were attacked by the pharmaceutical companies. We were attacked by the left, attacked by Fauci. We stood and we helped people. And Iowa and Florida had the best schools opening in the entire pandemic because we led. That's what you want to do. Now, in terms of mental health, I run into veterans here in Iowa, and I think we have a significant problem with veterans, particularly the post 9/11 veterans. And we know the stats on suicide. It's really, really sad. As a fellow veteran, as president, I have to put that issue on the front burner. We can't keep turning a blind eye to what's happening to our vets. It's not going to be done just through the VA, and it can't be done just by pumping people with pharmaceuticals. The veteran has
pretty sure the VA doesn't give a
more
fuck
than just
either.
that. So we're going to use the VA to link veterans with resources that are throughout our country. For example, in Florida, we have an organization that trains service dogs to be able to be paired with veterans with post-traumatic stress. They understand the symptoms, they mitigate it, and you know what? The suicide rate is close to 0 as a result.
That's pretty
of
cool.
that. We got to think bigger than these bureaucracies, and we've got to be there for our vets and their mental health.
Thank you,
The
Governor.
suicide rate is close to 0 because the Iraq war has been over for that long, you know?
That's a fair point. You don't think there'd be some from Afghanistan?
No, it's just not like the thing is just like the years of that war when they were really affecting people have been over for a long time. So
because that was like 7, 8,
buddy,
9.
stop barking at me. It's just the rates are just declining. Like there's no active like gunfire fights and your friends being like blown to pieces right now.
Yeah.
Or really blowing other people to pieces. It's really and you may call in strikes, but being a controller is a lot different than like a drone operator and stuff. As far as like how it affects you.
Was the hottest year ever recorded on Earth, and Americans are already feeling the impact. Just yesterday, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration reported that the U.S. experienced 28 weather and climate-related disasters that cost at least $1 billion last year, another record. Governor DeSantis here in Florida, Governor DeSantis here in Iowa, massive flooding has left farmers underwater. In Florida, rising seas threaten coastal cities. You have taken action in your home state to mitigate the problems of rising seas. But as president, would you do anything to deal with the underlying cause, which scientists agree requires cutting carbon emissions?
So on day one as president, we take Biden's Green New Deal, we tear it up and we throw it in the trash can. It is bad for this country. We have to have reliable energy. And here's the thing, they talk about, Joe Biden has said that global warming is worse than a nuclear war. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, gee, John Kerry hasn't given up his private jet. Obama hasn't given up his Martha's Vineyard seaside mansion. I haven't seen Biden do anything to hold China accountable, except making sure that Hunter gets his money. So these guys talk out of one side of their mouth and then they behave in another way. And I think that's wrong. But I also
didn't think you'd be getting a free beef washing, did you, buddy?
Particularly here in Iowa. I mean, for example, he wants to mandate electric vehicles. That's going to be more costly. I think the car companies would go bankrupt, but it's going to hurt liquid fuels, which is very, very important. You're going to end up having rolling blackouts if they kneecap reliable energy production in this country. Florida's had a massive decline in emissions. Wasn't because of a single mandate. It was because of innovation, because a lot of natural gas has replaced coal. We do have market-based solar, and it's a complement, but we cannot walk away from reliable energy. And I think about, here's what the left wants to do. They want to take away your freedom, and they want you to pay more for everything. We need you to pay less for energy. We need to make sure people can innovate. We cannot have these mandates, and they'll be gone the day I'm president.
So, Governor, just a point of clarification, 15 seconds. Recent research at the University of Iowa ties these floods in Iowa to the rise in greenhouse gases.
And here's the thing,
let me just ask a question. As president, would you do anything to deal with this underlying cause?
Innovate. And here's the thing. China is building 2 coal plants a week.
Sure.
You can do everything Biden wants to do, and you're going to have way more of what China's increasing it. But why would we be cutting off our nose to spite our face?
China's doing it. We should do it too.
The American people.
Idiot.
Governor Haley, as president, would you do anything to deal with the underlying cause of the floods and other climate disasters, which scientists agree requires cutting carbon emissions?
I mean, first of all, regardless of what party, everybody wants to have clean air, clean water. They want a world that they can pass on to their kids that's going to be healthy and all of that. But it's how do we do that?
I don't know if she knows
I think
what
the
party
first thing
she's
you
in.
have to understand is you don't deal in extremes. When I was at the United Nations, the reason I took us out of the Paris Climate Agreement was because President Obama had put all these mandates down on our businesses, but they didn't do anything to hold China and India to account. Those are the 2 countries we have to really go to if we care about the environment, that we go and make them be held accountable. The second thing is we'll roll back all of Biden's green subsidies because they're misplaced. Rather than putting anything
that'll help the environment
on what we can do on nuclear fusion and other things that reduce emissions.
Ask if she'll roll back any of the fossil fuel subsidies.
To go and have everybody have to drive an electric car by 2035. That's not even smart.
The United States pledged a bunch of agreements at the climate summit. Oh, those definitely have to be honored. The United States is known to have to always honor everything.
Definitely honors those
pledges. Come on.
One, because, which by the way, Ron took Biden's stimulus money and did charging stations all throughout Florida. I wouldn't have taken the stimulus money. But what that does is basically we don't have the infrastructure. And I'm not just talking about charging stations. Electric vehicles are heavy. Our roads and
luckily, she can have the infrastructure because the Inflation Reduction Act gave enough money for 500,000 charging stations across the U.S.
of the batteries in electric cars are made in China. So Biden gave this massive windfall to our #1 national security threat. If we're going to do it, innovate it, transition, and do it the right way, not in extremes.
Thank you. I want to turn to the issue of crime.
It's literally
fuck the Earth because fuck China.
It's literally not enough. Like all the policy, all like Biden's green policy, it's all like, the people who get the most cutbacks on like buying green vehicles are rich people.
Yes. Because it needs to be.
Yeah.
They're the ones who spearhead the change.
Because
Really.
also they're the ones who will be annoyed enough that they want something done and will fund it. Like, I can't charge my car here.
Yeah. And then also technology trickles down from more expensive to cheaper eventually.
Yeah, I mean, look at the phone
The
I
majority
have.
of Americans describe crime in the U.S. as either extremely or very serious.
Totally
Recent
replaceable.
data show crime rates falling, but some violent crime rates do remain high.
Florida's
Governor
crime
Haley,
rate is the
former President
lowest
Trump
in the
suggested that he might
country.
try to stop violent crime by deploying
Yeah,
U.S.
violent
troops
crime
to
is like at an
Democratic-run
all-time low.
states
Huh?
Violent crime in general is like at an all-time low.
Also, Florida's like 14th.
But violent crime specifically is really low.
Yeah.
cities, something he could potentially do under the Insurrection Act. Is that something that you would do as president?
What I would do is, first of all, defund sanctuary cities. It's hugely important
Shut
that we do
up.
that. That's where we're seeing a lot of crime.
Penalty.
But the second thing is, our law enforcement is demoralized right now. Because
Fuck
if they go
off.
and they arrest someone for having a stolen gun, it's
Shut up.
demoralizing when they go through all that effort, put their lives
Oh,
at
so
risk,
now we're
and then
pro-gun
you turn
control,
around and
okay.
let that criminal go the very next day. Prosecutors need to prosecute according to the law, and we've got to start
Okay,
holding them
so-
accountable.
Okay,
When
we
bring
want to
law-
spend money to hold every infraction in jail.
Yep.
And we don't want to take bail money. Okay, Nikki.
Yep.
I'm fucking better than you.
Nikki, you're standing next to a lawyer. You're lucky. You're lucky that lawyer is too dumb to check you on this.
an order back
And you're
to our
lucky
cities,
Christy
then that's
liked
when
you
they'll be
enough.
safe. You don't do it by
Yeah.
defunding the police, and you don't do it by just praising the police. You do
Police
it by
have been
having
funded.
their backs, making sure we passed the first body camera bill in the country in South Carolina to make sure that law enforcement felt like they could do their job without feeling threatened about them doing their job. But we have to have
Yeah, and they can
prosecutors
turn them off
prosecuting.
whenever they
We-
want.
Yep. Imagine if they had actually just done their job properly in the first place, they wouldn't have even needed them. But I guess gunning
Well, you don't
down
understand. It's the
every
communist
second dog
agenda
that
to
you
bring
come
down
across.
security.
But I guess gunning down every second dog you come across and every third black person is not good enough. We need more effective to empty their magazines into to make
That's
sure
why
you
we need
can't.
Cop City. Cop
to-
City will do it. Come
yeah,
on, guys.
to make sure that you can't sue them for shooting you incorrectly. You know, if you're dead,
yeah,
you can't sue them.
Sometimes I'll watch like as much as I could like watch it all day. It's not related to work, and it'll fuck up the algorithm to recommend me news. But like sometimes I'll like watch like certain like like almost like it's to modern day cops where they have like the case compiled with the body cam stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just like somebody going over like how much these cops fucked up by not like detaining somebody, how much they fucked up by like missing like blood in plain view, and how other officers had to come in and they didn't detain. They literally saw blood and like body parts and didn't detain everyone on scene. They
Oh
continued
my
touching
god!
stuff, right?
Jesus Christ! Experts, huh? These are the people that are keeping us safe, right?
And it's just wild.
Yeah.
We have to defund sanctuary cities. We have to get these stolen guns and drugs off the street. And the only way we can do that is when we empower law enforcement.
Governor DeSantis?
Yeah. Empower them. Do
No more
buybacks. They
stealing
always
drugs.
work.
No more stealing drugs.
Yeah. Don't steal guns. That's illegal. Didn't
No,
you know?
steal drugs. Don't steal drugs. No more stolen drugs on the street. You heard her.
Pay for them.
Yeah, because she said
these people need their money.
She said stolen guns and drugs. I just assume both are stolen. So who stole my drugs?
I mean, that quote from the former President Trump is a little bit rich because he was president during the worst rioting in modern history of this country, the BLM riots in the summer of 2020. When that happened in Minneapolis,
Ron,
and Florida, I called.
Can
out
you
the
give me
National
a
Guard.
broad category of when modern is? For me, is it post-Soviet or like, when does the clock start with that?
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the LA riots were 93 post-Soviet, and if that's modern, well, you're already lost out.
I think after 9/11, but I do think we're in a new era now.
Yeah, post-COVID.
Yeah.
I agree.
We had state law enforcement deployed. We said, you're not burning down our cities in this state. And you know what? It didn't happen. He sat in the White House and tweeted law and order, but he did nothing to ensure law and order. As your president, I will never
He almost
let our
crashed
cities
a
burn. You have
helicopter on
every right
people, bro.
to stop this runaway rioting as president. In fact, you have a duty. Now, Nikki
Duty.
Haley and I have a disagreement on the BLM stuff too.
Duty.
Because she tweeted during this period of time that the death of George Floyd should be, quote, personal and painful for each and every American.
We are
But people in
professional
Iowa had nothing to do with that, or Florida,
Bro,
or South Carolina. She was
of course, a man who literally like tortured people would be like, like we shouldn't care about how this man died. Like, Ron. He was found guilty in a court of law. He is a criminal, okay? He is a criminal. He is in jail for a crime that he committed. Shut the fuck up.
Signaling to the left, she was accepting the narrative, and she was trying to impress people who are never going to like us. I never bought into going after the police. We back the blue to the hilt in the state of Florida. And we're
Are we pro or anti-crime? Because that cop is a criminal. He's guilty of murder. I don't see the Supreme Court taking up his case, right? If he's so innocent, where's this fucking, anti-woke Supreme Court sticking up for him, huh?
It's interesting that he did that. He put a tweet that was very similar, but let me tell you why it did that. First of all, we had one of the worst two racial shootings.
Because they just had to, the thing is that while they could have definitely hit him with first degree, they wanted to make sure they actually get charges strong enough to convict. Because first degree would be the easiest one to disprove. But because they had such a relationship and a history, it could be shown that he had been planning to
do something.
To do something for a while.
Yeah. It's too hard to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's way better to go for a lower charge. It was the same with Kyle Rittenhouse. They would have gotten him if it was a lower charge.
Well, second degree technically is it's not that it got out of control. Your intent was to kill them. So it was like a court of law. Listen to the evidence. Experts for the police came in to talk about procedures and if this was of procedure and what is appropriate, right? It didn't result in any restrictions being put on cops, right? Because this guy wasn't following the restrictions that were already in place. That's why he was guilty of a crime. That's why it happened the way it did.
Yeah.
And why it didn't change policing. That's just how bad of a cop you got to be to actually go down. Think of all the ones that have been innocent on these types of cases.
Yeah. Although there have been some pretty cool cases. Like there was this one where a no-knock warrant was executed and the occupant, not the person that was there, the warrant was for, but
that story that I sidetracked with about the bad cops, the guy was constantly referencing that case.
Interesting.
Being like, the officer didn't announce himself here. And he if he was shot and killed, the person would have been justified in doing it.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting part is that because the cops didn't announce themselves and he was shooting at the police, he got off. And the more interesting part is it was a black guy. So I was very surprised when that verdict came out because I was watching the case. So it was very, very surprising that was actually ruled that way. And I think that changes a lot and was pretty much one of the most defining cases for no-knock warrants because that's probably one of the most revolting things cops do, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially when they go to the wrong place and kill people.
Yeah, exactly. And nothing happens to them. Just pure immunity.
Yeah, and then the people they kill are vilified by the right and being like, one time they sold marijuana, they're a criminal.
Yeah, exactly. Insane.
Bro, these people were literally going to a place to murder somebody.
Yeah.
Under the protection of their job in law enforcement.
Under the protection of a badge. Insane. So I'm glad that premise is now a thing. And now if cops do a no-knock warrant, well,
they have to think twice.
Yep. So
They have to make sure they don't miss.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's also good because now it also discourages them from doing them, which is also good.
Shootings. We had the shooting of Walter Scott, who was shot 7 times in the back by a dirty cop. We had a horrific shooting at a church where a white supremacist came in and killed 9 amazing souls. BLM, all of that, we never had to deal with riots. We never had to call in the National Guard, Ron, because when we had both of those shootings, we were able to pull people together. We didn't have riots, we had vigils. We didn't have protests, we had prayer. We brought people together. When I said that about George Floyd, when we turned around and had the worst shooting in a religious place that we had seen in this country, not only did I pass the first body camera bill in the country and keep our state together, not only did I move to bring the Confederate flag down, we came together.
It was Nikki to do it.
No
nice.
division, no riots, no anything. We didn't need the National Guard because a leader knows how to bring out the best in their people.
Thank you, Governor. So
I didn't know that was her. Nice.
We've seen some vicious attack ads going.
Do you know why she dropped that?
Debate.
You know why she? Look, she's so pleased with herself. You know why she?
Thing?
Yes, yes. Yeah. That's why we got new rhetoric. We got new dialogue unlocked on her dialogue tree.
Finally.
Different note, Governor DeSantis.
We
let me
picked
ask
the right
you,
speech options.
What do you admire about Governor Haley?
Well, look, I mean, I think that
you got a speech
the
bill.
United Nations. I did think that she spoke out strongly on some key issues, and I appreciated that. I also appreciate the state of South Carolina.
Hello from Belgium.
My wife,
Hello from America.
is a College of Charleston graduate. Her parents lived there for many years, and so it is a wonderful state.
Hello from Australia.
There's a lot of great people there, and I think to be able to have been governor there is a great achievement. And I really appreciate everyone I've gotten to meet in South Carolina.
Governor Haley, what do you admire about Governor DeSantis?
I think he's been a good governor.
Okay. Great.
So
great. That was awesome. She look at her. She knows. Bro, that's awesome. What a close for her. She finished so strong with the I took down the Confederate flag and that fucking diss on Ron.
That was awesome. She did so well this time round.
Even though it was mostly the same shit that we've heard before.
Yeah,
at least, but the things that they've already said before, this time nobody was interrupting them.
Exactly. We didn't have Vivek as the fucking chaos agent, which was fantastic, and we didn't have Chris Christie fucking yelling at him all the time, that's all it was. He was just dadding him the whole time.
I'm gonna.
Is there any more to this, or?
Well, there is, because there's another whole thing, but here's an intermediate piece to put on to give a break from like the next one that's going to be from what I've heard, it's insane.
I'm just going to put that there as the time code.
What's that? Oh,
that's the time code.
Both Democrats and Republicans are concerned, though, about 81-year-old Joe Biden's ability to serve a second term. But
you see this? This clip is called.
His age all wrong.
The clip is called "The Media is Trying to Spin This." That's you. You're the media. Who's the media?
At the end of a second term, he'd be 86. As his life partner of 46 years, is there a part of you that is worried about his age and health?
Life partner.
46 years.
Yeah, they're old, bro.
Holy shit. They've been together a long time. God damn.
Can he do it?
He can do it. And I see Joe every day. I see him out, traveling around this country. I see his vigor. I see his energy. I see his passion every single day.
She should speak for him instead. Jesus Christ.
Well, you mean like Ron DeSantis' wife, who's way better at speaking than him?
Yeah.
The thing is, I see Ron DeSantis' wife, and I'm going to probably vote for her.
Dude,
really
he hates it when she speaks.
I know,
you can
so
see
funny.
it in his face that he's just
so
like,
funny.
Fuck, I hate this fucking part. Get the fuck off the stage. Why the fuck are you talking? It's my time. Get back in the kitchen, bitch.
So, to those who say I can't vote for Joe Biden, he's too old, what do you say?
I say his age is an asset.
Aha, he's wise.
Yes, he's wise. He has wisdom. He has experience. He knows every leader on the world.
I'm in Spain without the S.
So he's acting like this is a new strategy, right?
Yeah.
How long ago? Do you know how long ago Biden's team came out and said, when people talk about how old he is, we're going to talk about that comes with wisdom and being wise, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is so far down the line to act like this is like, oh, look what his wife is doing. Now they're suddenly doing this thing where age is wisdom. Were you asleep? They started this like the beginning of like this election cycle.
Yeah,
Because that
like
was the main issue is holy fuck, this guy is old. Because he kept falling down, man.
Yeah. Still falls down.
He played with his dog and got his arm ripped off before he even ran. And then also during that time, there's the bike fall over scene. Like, bro.
That was such a funny video. But that was just because his foot got stuck.
Yeah,
Decisions.
his foot
He
gets stuck
is
a lot.
the right man, or the right person for the job at this moment in history.
Okay.
So First Lady Jill Biden sees vigor and energy. America sees this, and we'll put it up. This is Jill Biden escorting her husband off the stage, which we've seen time and time again. And that's a poll, Bill. We were going to put that up a little later.
Bill, you mean that
I watched this entire
she's
interview
not
this morning.
afraid
She's
to
been very
touch her husband like Melania?
Yeah. The swat the hand away. Such a funny video.
active surrogate. I anticipate she'll be out there a lot. The words she said were very, very good, but it can't erase the images that Americans have seen.
Yeah, here's what I was saying. I'll make it quick. I love my parents. They're wise.
Okay.
They're funny. They're smart. They get.
But I wouldn't let them run the
they're also
country.
84 years old. Okay. I don't want my parents anywhere near the Oval Office. Now, you couldn't make the case that
what do your
there
parents
are others
want
in their 80s who are still vibrant. I mean, we just looked at Belichick and Bob Kraft, and you talked about Pete Carroll and how much energy he has as a coach. Lost his job yesterday, but you got to put your foot down. Okay? Mom and Dad, I love you. Kids watching. All right, it's all good. I would vote for you at home, but
you're in so much trouble right now.
No,
look at Emily's face. We're all in shock.
Is this really what they're showing? Is like, oh, he's escorting him off the stage.
It's an acuity issue
Dude,
too. I mean,
she's holding his hand. Get over it.
Very well. Her mind was sharp as a whip up until late in her days. But look, Tammy, I would say
I think he dropped out.
With...
I'm pretty sure he's not anymore, or he's like still running and campaigning, but he's not in the debates anymore. But he's not going to get anywhere. So...
I would let Kayleigh McEnany ruin my life.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Bill Hemmer, 55% say he is too old to be president. 21% somewhat disagree, but the media, they try to convince us otherwise. Here's Newsweek. Joe Biden appears to be a super ager. Doctors say a super ager is someone who retains the acuity of people decades younger well into their 80s. America doesn't see it.
Yeah, they don't. And I worry, is that how 50 and 60-year-olds are behaving? I hope not. But look, this is, we know that the presidency is not a one-person job, right? You've got a whole big team of people. But the difference between, as an example, the Trump administration and this one shows us that individual matters, right? The energy level, the dynamic.
That does look like a bit, that does look a little bit like she's
Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe. Bro, who cares? I don't care.
Yeah,
I literally would rather have a man who's pooping his pants up there.
Yeah.
And just like totally like making stink tink and has no idea where he is. Please.
That would be much preferable.
Literally put a sock puppet in. Okay.
Yeah,
I will vote for the sock puppet.
You know what? Someone has voted as a mayor a dog. So this has precedent, so I vote dogs for.
Can you imagine women though when they're like, oh, they elected a dog before a woman?
That would be fairly funny.
No, like seriously, like I said it before, like all the people who like actually like do shit there, they're all unelected.
Yeah.
Being a pressure point within larger conversations. So we know that. I think what's insulting
here literally the
is
president
that
is just running a company.
Their messaging from the First Lady presumes that we just don't know. It's the same messaging as saying the border is closed or the world is in better shape now than it ever was before. But the larger issue, beyond what the voters see, our enemies see this. And they aren't caring what Jill Biden says. So this has a national security implication. And I've been against this argument that age is a problem. Because it is about experience and knowledge and everything else. Nancy Pelosi, you can put into that category. She's been fine.
Yes.
So this is what they don't want to diagnose him. They want to say it's age. That is a mistake. even Nikki Haley's argument of a new generation, that's a mistake. So what, you want AOC to be the president? No, you don't. So it's
Yes.
individual by individual, and clearly Biden has a problem, but this is their effort to try
Do
to
you know how
assuage
funny that
those
would be?
concerns, and they'll
Her on the world stage giving people sass. That would be hilarious.
The thing is, I don't like AOC is not building herself for that type of position.
No.
So the thing is like the areas she's choosing to like focus and be like an expert in are areas that she thinks are like more important to change. Like to go for like the president, like Nikki being a diplomat and dealing with foreign policy and being a governor, that's like really good experience for the position.
Yeah.
So
fail.
Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I just looked at 87 years old and still authoring Supreme Court opinions.
Sure.
But Harris,
I don't think she would
listen
be
to this. Joe Biden
awful.
had some
I just think
thoughts
she
on Hunter Biden.
would need good
How
advisors.
have you been coping personally with the onslaught of accusations against your husband and your family, including and especially Hunter?
Bro, have you seen what
hearing,
they did
holding him in contempt,
with
obsessing over
the trial? They brought well, they didn't bring him into trial. They had the trial on Hunter Biden, right? So this dude shows up. What a
Okay.
fucking boss, bro! It was he shows up to sit there, and then guess when he gets up to leave?
When
it's Marjorie Taylor Greene's turn to talk, his entire team gets up
That
and walks out.
is
It's like
hilarious.
you guys are picking with the wrong dude. Like it was such a hard. He didn't say shit to anyone. He just walked in, sat down for a while, then left.
for him.
You'd even see one time. We're not going to see in this clip, but it's when he's leaving, right? He does like almost like a spike to the camera where he's almost like off focus, off kilter from being like the baddest. He didn't expect the camera to be there. Like he's almost in the middle of breathing a sigh of relief. He can let the like, the face go a little, and then he like hardens right back up. It's like a split second of spiking the camera.
That's funny.
Of him during vulnerable moments in his battle with addiction on the floor of the house.
Why do you think he walked
This
out
will
and didn't
crush
want to
any
listen to you
family.
talk?
Mika, I think what
Can't
they are
imagine.
doing to Hunter is cruel. And I'm really proud of how Hunter has rebuilt his life after addiction. I love my son, and it's hurt my grandchildren. And that's what I'm so concerned about, that it's affecting their lives as well.
You know what? I believe that she believes that. Like, that's coming from the heart. I totally get it. The problem is Hunter Biden owes $1.4 million in taxes.
Whoa.
He's in court today.
Oh,
The
no.
gun charges against him are serious. Anybody else would have been put in prison for what he did. Lying on an application about your drug use so you can buy a weapon. I mean, she's downplaying what he's done. I don't know if he was sober or not, but getting sober doesn't mean that you don't have to pay the government back $1.4 million. Ask anybody who's ever come into contact with the IRS as it goes after them. You could owe them $50. They don't give up. Now, the point with him and his age, my grandmother passed 3 weeks shy of her 101st. Could she have run the country? No. But she ran us. She was doing everything else. She was
did her
sentient.
job.
It was, she was amazing right up until the day the Lord called her home. We are all called divinely to do different things. But if my husband had to collect me by my wrist, like when I leave a purse in a restaurant and have to go back and grab it, I'd know it was time to move on and go do something different.
Right.
And if she thinks the rest of us can't see that, I know how much she loves him. But the question isn't also about him. We don't know when we're lied to. Look at the SecDef. Now the Inspector General is investigating.
Question: if this was a Republican,
when
would
you're
this be
lied
the
to.
topic of conversation?
You know when you're lied to. Stop lying. I know when I'm lied to. You know when you're lied to. These
The vanishing
slimy.
of the Secretary of Defense, and the White House didn't even know for days.
That's right.
I want to call
We
him
aren't gonna get a
woke
witness
view, right? Because literally, like that's what it's like. It feels like how everything, like the way they use woke. I almost trying to want to use it for the same disdain I feel from the same things. So this is now woke the view.
What it's like on a good day for the president versus a bad day. and all the information in between.
Diversity
It'll be a
crashes
secret.
planes.
And Emily, to the Hunter point, I mean, look, they're trying to make this about his addiction. It's not about his addiction. And I didn't see the same level of empathy for the Trump children who did answer their subpoenas, whose grandchildren I'm sure have gone through all kinds of things
Who's
watching what's
the
happening to
little lad?
Mm.
Like it's not Major, that's the dog, but it's got a dumb name like that. It's like the actual like kid who was in the White House. It's Melania's kid.
No
Also, are you kidding me? Ivanka hasn't been defended. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh my God, like literally nobody gives a shit about the Trump kids. And the only one that like, like Tiffany, she's fine. I can't remember what the little lad's name is. It's like
is that the fat one that he disowned?
No, they just always forget her. She's like
Oh.
I wouldn't describe somebody as fat as well.
Sure.
Like
can't forget
Trump,
Jared.
Send in Jared.
Yep,
J-Man.
Jared. That's one of it's obvious. Trump, my daddy-in-law.
Their grandfather. I've never heard empathy on that side.
Of course, it is always a double standard, and there's nothing cruel about holding someone accountable
His
for
name
their
is
actions and their
stupid. It's
behavior.
Aaron
And there's
Trump.
nothing cruel about
Dumbass.
demanding as an American citizen
But
that
yeah.
you are governed.
Like that.
That is
like
a dumb name.
Yeah, like everyone is like, listen, Barron is innocent. Leave him out of this. You know, everyone is like, come on.
Has some type of not only accountability but transparency, that there's no corruption, that maybe there's no
Transparent.
foreign powers that have influence. I mean, get out of here with that being cold. Look, wives are going to wife, professors are going to profess, moms are going to mom. So that is what Jill Biden is doing, and that's great.
Okay,
as she
so you hate
should.
moms?
But I don't feel like being told from someone, you don't know how hard he works about the commander in chief. This isn't about a 7th grader. We're not talking about a student. You know how I need to see how hard he works in his policies and in the affect. I need to hear and feel that my troops are safe, that my loved ones are safe while they are deployed, that our border is secure, and
Your
that my
troops
tax
are
dollars
safe?
being invested wisely.
This chick is a heavy micromanager at home. You can tell.
Oh no. She has people. She micromanages the people who then micromanage her home. That our troops are safe. Famously, the least safe troops, United States soldiers.
Famously.
Stewardship is sound. So her placations and explanations do not ring at all with me. And by the way, all those
So
trolls asking about
you think pulling out of Afghanistan made our soldiers more or less safe? What are we? I mean, you're the one who said you got to see it in the policy. So
I take issue with the wording. It has nothing to do with age. Right. Fix all the verbs, fix all the words, and have it say, what about his mental acuity? What about his competence? That'll give us the real numbers.
You mean adjectives?
How hard the American people have to work to combat Biden inflation and the housing crisis. They work hard.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me
Hi.
and my co-host.
Do you see? She reacted to. Oh, it's time for me to stop making up shit and talking. You see how she reacted to that at the end there? Okay.
Wait, Kaylee.
Yeah, watch.
And the housing crisis. They work hard.
Hey everyone.
It was over.
Like they cut her into Q right there. It's so funny.
Liberal Martha.
Oh, lucky I got that time code.
For what? Is the CNN debate not over?
No, there's still 20 minutes to go.
It's not over?
No.
Act 5 from Des Moines, Iowa, and the CNN Republican presidential debate. We now have time for closing statements, and we begin with Governor Haley.
Oh,
First
do
of
we
all, I
care?
want to thank the good people of Iowa. I have campaigned for 11 months, whether it's driving a combine or holding a pig at a produce area, or whether it's the fact that we've met owners of bakeries and small businesses. You know,
You went to a state fair. Okay, we get
can't
it.
go through 4 more years of chaos. And if it's Donald Trump, there will be 4 more years
You know,
of chaos.
Vivek
And
went
we
to
can't be a
like
country in
every
disarray and a world on fire
county
and go through
twice. What a weirdo.
4 more years of chaos. And we can't go through another nail biter of an election. And if you look at the polls right now, going against Joe Biden, in every one of those head-to-head polls, Ron doesn't beat Joe Biden. Trump is head-to-head. On a good day, he might be up by 2 points. I defeat Biden by 17 points. That's bigger than the presidency. That's House, that's Senate, that's governorships, that's down to school board. That's a mandate to get our spending under control and get inflation down. That's a mandate to get our kids reading again and go back to the basics in education. That's a mandate to secure our borders with no more excuses. That's a mandate to bring law and order back to our country. And that's a mandate for a strong America that we can be proud of. We can do this. I know we can do this. If you will join with me in this movement, if you join with me in this fight, I promise you, our best days are to come. God bless you.
Governor DeSantis.
I'll tell you what. It wasn't saying the country's fucked. I'm the only thing that can save it, like everybody else.
She literally said, "I'm the most electable."
Pretty much, and she said, "There's hope."
She's like, because I'm the most electable, it'll give us the most swing through our agenda.
Yeah. I mean, she's not wrong. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, but people are too stupid to understand how that works. They need the most fascist person.
Well, it's been great to visit all 99 counties here in Iowa. I've been able to meet so many friends and really learn about some of the best of America. Iowa's votes do not need to be corrected by any other state. You all know what you're doing. And we have an opportunity in Monday to really change the course of history. Donald Trump's running for his issues. Nikki Haley's running for her donors' issues. I'm running for your issues, your family's issues, and solely to turn this country around.
You don't have
the only
new
one running
shit
that's
to say?
delivered on 100% of my promises.
He's got 6 talking
and I'm the
points.
only
He's
one
like an
running that has beaten the
NPC.
left time and time again, from the teachers' unions to Fauci.
This
to
was
the
your
Democratic
opening
Party.
statement.
We need to run under the banner of bold colors that are putting the American people first. We can't
Rainbow-
run under the banner of
rainbow
pale
agenda.
pastels, the warmed over corporatism, the likes of which is practiced by Nikki Haley.
You said this
Freedom
already.
is on the ballot. Decline is a choice.
Shut up.
We have it within our power to
Decline
fix
is a
this country and to
choice.
turn
And
it
if you
around.
vote for
I
me,
am
you will
asking for
be
your
choosing
support
decline.
in the Iowa caucus on Monday, January 15th. I'll be a
Caucus.
president that you can be proud of, and I promise you this: I will get the job done, and
No,
I
you
will
won't.
not let you down. Thank you,
Yes, you
and
will.
God
Sure,
bless
buddy.
you all.
Our thanks to
Stop!
Governor
You
DeSantis.
you threw in the God shit.
Look at the
because
fake
he did.
smile. Cringe.
DeSantis and Governor Haley, thank you so much, both of you, for being here tonight. Thanks to our audience, to
Okay.
our host.
Now it's
It
done.
was over. It was probably just gonna
It
be
was
a
just
few
closing
more of him
statements.
talking. Okay,
Yeah.
so rumor has it the counter town hall that Trump had
Okay.
is like one of the worst appearances for Trump.
In what way?
Like a disaster. The dude is like just gone. And it's even being
Interesting.
hosted by Fox News. So like everyone is like, wow, not even Fox News could help Trump here. But you know, this could be just the narrative that they want us
But
to
in
think.
in what way though? Like what was
Look, I don't
gone?
I just know we had to watch it. I didn't try to spoil too much. This is just what I've seen from headlines and things like that. What the media has been saying and wants us to
Is
think.
this what you've just sent me? Because I'm not watching another town hall.
It is no, this is Trump's town hall. Yes. It was done on the same day. We said we were gonna do this.
Oh, I thought you
When it
sent
was
the
announced.
whole town hall. Not a
No,
fragment.
it's like
If you are the nominee, which I know you expect to be, who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that really. I mean,
there's
I know
there's
who
gonna
it's
be
gonna
a bunch
Give
of
us a hint.
highlights for the
We'll
town
do
hall.
another show sometime.
Can you say tonight that political?
What?
Huh?
What?
I said why wouldn't we do clips from the town hall like we did with the other one? Sit through an entire town
because
hall.
I thought we were finishing there, but it's fine. Like I thought we were going to do the whole town hall, like another hour and a half.
Torture stream?
No.
Nah. I think we can just look at people talking about the town hall.
Who would be in the running for vice president?
Well, I can't tell you that really. I mean, I know who it's going to be.
Give
but
us a hint.
We'll do another show sometime.
Can you say tonight that political violence is never acceptable?
Well, of course that's right. And of course, I'm the one that had very little of it. Take a look at wars. Again, I didn't start. I wasn't involved in wars. We beat the hell out of
Okay,
ISIS.
but I thought it was the
100%. We brought
BLM
our
riots, bro.
troops back home. Look at the violence that we've had. Look at the violence we have recently.
There are questions about how much a second term of a Donald Trump presidency, second term, would be about retribution and looking backwards and grievances, and how much would be looking forward.
I'm not going to have time for retribution. We're going to make this country so successful again. I'm not going to have time for retribution.
Oh, what? Oh, but
He
what?
really-
Oh, so now it's suddenly no. That's not me. I'm not the retribution guy.
believes, because you never know with a politician, and he's just another politician as far as I'm concerned. But his poll numbers have gone down to a level that he's going to be out of the race very soon. He's going to be out very soon. I watched him last night. He's standing up with his shoes, his fancy shoes. You like Ron DeSantis, but he wouldn't even be around today.
Is he talking about his heels?
Yeah, he doesn't exactly know what he's supposed to say there.
He'd be working in a pizza shop or perhaps a law firm if I didn't endorse him. I endorsed him, took him from nothing to winning an election.
Would you pledge to divest from your business in the second term as other presidents have done?
If I have a hotel and somebody comes in from China, that's a small amount of money. It sounds like a lot of money.
Trump,
That's
you
a
got to
small-
finish the
I was
word. You
doing
can't say what. So you
services
can
for that.
do
People
chat.
were staying in these massive hotels, these beautiful hotels, because I have the best hotels. I have the best clubs. I have the best clubs. I have great stuff. And they stay there and they pay.
Great stuff.
I don't get $8 million for doing nothing like Hunter. If I didn't win, I think the stock market would crash.
Yeah,
I
but you
believe
said
that the stock-
when there's a crash, I hope it's going to be during this next 12 months because I don't want to be Herbert Hoover.
Well, I think
Just to be
there
clear.
will be a crash if I don't win. And I say that, and I do not want to be Herbert Hoover. It would have never happened in Ukraine. Russia would have never gone in. Would have never happened. The recent attack on Israel would have never happened. 0% chance that was going to happen.
Sure.
They see a weak president in our country, and they did something that was unthinkable. But if you go back and look at the records, you will see that the biggest fan of Dr. Fauci was Ron DeSanctimonious. He was a big fan. He said, I go by, exactly, quote, I go by what Dr. Fauci said. He said that 2 months in, all the way through, and then eventually changed when it wasn't, that wasn't the dessert of the day. If it weren't for me with Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't even be talking about this. You wouldn't be asking that question because we'd right back. I remember this. They're the radicals. We're not the radicals. In the debate with Hillary Clinton, they said, she's willing to rip the baby out of
America,
the
we're
womb
the
in
we're the
ninth month.
Mujahideen.
Would you be committed to
We're the
NATO,
Mujahideen.
for example, in a second Trump term?
Depends if they treat us properly. The reason they have money right now to prosecute what they're doing with helping Ukraine is because of the money I got them.
He's such a clown.
Seems like typical Trump to me. In fact, that seemed a lot better than a lot of the other appearances I've seen him say.
Mr. President, we appreciate you making the track. And before we begin, we want to offer our condolences to you and the former First Lady, Melania Trump, for the loss of her mother last night.
Thank you very much. Great.
We're going to bury her in a golf course. It's a beautiful golf course.
To note that today there was some breaking campaign news. Take a listen.
It's clear to me tonight that there isn't a path for me to win the nomination. Which is why I'm suspending my campaign tonight for President of the United States. I am going to make sure that in no way do I enable Donald Trump to ever be President of the United States again.
So that was the big news. Late today, the former governor of New Jersey dropped out of the race in New Hampshire. You saw it there. There's a lot of speculation now that there could be a combining of forces of the people who supported him. He had about 12% there. And
That's
by
not
some
bad.
estimates, you're ahead by an average of 14.
I imagine they'll
in
go
the Real
behind
Clear
Nikki.
Politics average polling in New Hampshire. So if that 12 goes to Nikki Haley, she could give you a run for your money there.
Well, you have Democrats in New Hampshire and they vote, and you have independents in New Hampshire in large numbers and they vote. And I have polls that show me leading by a tremendous amount in New Hampshire and a lot in Iowa, and nationwide we're leading by almost 60 points. So I'm not exactly worried about it. I understand New Hampshire very well. I've won it twice and did very well with New Hampshire. I love the people. They love me, I think. We did a good job for New Hampshire economically and even from the standpoint of the military, taking care of the vets. And I think we're going to do very well in New Hampshire. Now, Chris Christie was in and he got a hot mic I heard about. I thought actually the bigger story wasn't the fact that he dropped out. Nobody cared too much about that. But he had a hot mic where he was talking to somebody about the weather, and he happened to say that she doesn't have what it takes. She'll be creamed in the election. And I mean, I know her very well, and I happen to believe that Chris Christie is right. That's one of the few things he's been right about, actually.
So you don't think it changes the dynamic much?
I don't know if it does or not. Look, we're winning tremendously here. I think we're 20, 24 points up. I brought some polls if you want to see them, just in case.
Oh my
He's
God.
got
I think we're
notes
24,
as well.
25 points up.
Bro, this
But
is
interesting.
Is he going to take out a printed
this
one
is
sheet as well?
This is surprisingly good for him compared to the shit that I've seen lately. Like this
Yeah.
is like, and this reminds me of like when they tried to do in France they gave the Ayatollah a speech thinking everyone will hear him and he'll be crazy as fuck, and then he went up and like dialed everything back because he knew the audience was gonna be larger than normal. And it basically was one of the things that handed him the regime.
Yeah.
Unbelievable people, but they allow independents and Democrats to vote in the Republican primary. You say, what's that all about? So it's a little bit false in that regard, but even with that, I think we'll win substantially.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Sharp, Sean.
and Ron DeSantis, because you both talk a lot about pro-life, your record. And that's my number one issue, and the cry of my heart is justice for all people. And I've been, vocal and celebrating with you all of your pro-life victories from the past. But then in this campaign, you've also blamed pro-lifers for some of the GOP losses around the country, and you've called heartbeat laws like Iowa's terrible. And so I'd just like some clarity on this, because it's such an important question to me. I'd like for you to reassure me that you can protect all life. Every person's
Pat me on
right
the
to
head,
life without
please.
compromise.
I hate her. She's so the way she's saying it is so transparently vampiric. Yes, you can say that too.
So that's a great question. I appreciate it too. You wouldn't be asking that question, even talking about the issue, because for 54 years they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Terminated.
They wanted to get it
Funny
back,
choice of
right?
words.
You wouldn't have that. There would be no question. Nobody else was going to get that done but me. And we did it, and we did something that was a miracle. Tearing our country apart for 50 years. Nobody's been able to do anything. And again, you can only ask that question, and you ask it brilliantly. And I understand exactly where you're coming from. I love where you're coming from. But we still have to win elections. And they've used this. We have some great Republicans, and they're great on the issue. And you would love them on the issue. And a lot of them have just been decimated in the election. Decimated. I mean, absolutely. So we're going to come up with something that people want and people like. I would love you to, first of all, you have to go with your heart. Okay. You have to go with your heart first. Go with your heart, your mind, go with it. But you do also have to put in there a little bit. You have to win elections. But if it weren't for me with Roe v. Wade, you wouldn't even be talking about this. You wouldn't be asking that question, because we're right back. And remember this, they're the radicals. We're not the radicals, because they'll kill a baby. Remember, I had the debate with crooked Hillary Clinton, which I don't call her crooked anymore. I use that now for Joe Biden, as you know. I call her beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. But in the debate with Hillary Clinton, they said, she's willing to rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month. And, I never heard this. It happened to me. It just came to me during that debate. I didn't go up.
You got the baby ripped out of you 9 months in? That's what happened to you, bro?
Nobody wants to see that happening after a certain period of time. Nobody. They're the radicals, because they're willing to kill the baby in 8 months, 9 months, or even after birth. If you remember the former governor of Virginia, where he said, you kill the baby after the 9th month, or even after you set the baby aside and you have a conversation with the mother. And if the conversation, can you imagine?
And then
these are the radicals.
stab it
We're
in
not
its
the
soft
radicals.
spot.
We are not the radicals.
Self-destruct button.
But we're living in a time when there has to be a little bit of a concession one way or the other. And I think, I want to get it right. I have to get it right. But without what I did, you would never even be asking that question, because there was no chance that was going to happen. For 54 years, they campaigned on that issue, and nobody pulled it off but me.
I mean, this is like pretty much hit all the highlights now.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to be happy in the end.
And there it is. Donald.
Cool.
Click the one I just sent. It's for a final thing. Last one. It's a short video.
And welcome to this special edition of Hannity Countdown to Iowa, the 2024 presidential election. It will kick off in exactly 1 week from tonight. We should have full results from the Republican Iowa caucus next Monday, but don't expect any numbers from Democrats with a very complicated mail-in voting system and the reshuffling of the Democratic Party's primary calendar. We won't get an official tally for months. Of course, barring a major trip and fall, Biden will almost certainly be the Democratic nominee. The big question tonight, why? Joe Biden's been a terrible president. His approval numbers show it. They're at record lows. His cabinet doesn't even bother to keep him in the loop on major issues. No one even bothered to tell your president, Joey.
Yeah, he's talking about the prostate cancer.
Was actually incapacitated
again.
in the ICU
now
for several
anti-HIPAA.
days. Just wondering out loud, What if we had a national emergency or some international crisis and we need our Secretary of Defense? We don't know where he is. Now, I guess it wasn't a concern for the administration since Biden pretty much sleeps, eats, and takes vacations. Occasionally, he'll travel somewhere close to the White House for a short speech delivered from a...
Pretty sure there are like people under that role, like a deputy secretary of defense or something like that, that is generally there should the person appointed to the role have to vacate. This is a non-issue. Shut the fuck up.
Teleprompter with giant font. He's frail, he's weak, he's incompetent. He's so frail that now his wife, Dr. Jill Biden, is helping the president manage his daily schedule. And this week, Jill Biden is actually sitting down for an upcoming interview on Joe's behalf. And now lately, more often than not, the first lady also literally has to help her husband, very dazed and confused, walk off a stage after a rare...
What's the bet?
Event. We saw this on...
What's the bet? Because Fox News is on this narrative, that we'd also see this narrative on like Sky News and like Murdoch-owned press in Australia.
What,
you reckon?
That Obama is nervous?
No, that his wife is always up there with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be a play.
Because they can't compare it to Trump because his wife hates him.
Yeah.
Friday, after Biden's big "I hate Donald Trump, I'll repeat it for the next 11 months" campaign kickoff near Valley Forge. Now, the Biden campaign was trying to use his historic location to draw comparisons to George Washington. Oh, really? Instead, Biden resembled a bitter, angry, aging,
it'd be
Trump
pretty
says
awesome.
He's better than Lincoln.
It would be pretty awesome if Biden opened his speech with "fuck Trump."
He almost did. He almost did say some shit like that. Did you see that? And people said it was a flub, and I was like, that was totally written in there. He said he's
hilarious.
like sick fuck, but he stopped. He goes sick, and then acts like he almost said sick fuck.
Confused and dazed politician desperately clinging to power. He, as per usual, demonized MAGA Republicans for the 4 millionth time.
I don't know. He looks
obsessed over
cold
January
to me.
6th for the 5th millionth time, and even bragged about throwing certain rioters in jail. Of course, he had nothing but praise for the violent looters and
holding his wife's hand the way that he does would do nothing for him to have stability.
Huh?
They're saying he can't stand up because he's walking rigid because he's cold, clearly, and they're trying to act like his wife is holding him up by the hand.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all the stability he needs.
Died and
it's really reaching, isn't it?
Injured in the summer of 2020. Remember, those were peaceful riots.
Who was the president though? I thought he didn't have any violence under him.
For the perpetrators in the Minneapolis case after the police precinct there was burned to the ground. It was so nice of her. We didn't have a commission for the 574 riots in the summer of 2020. Why did we have?
Why was the Minneapolis police station burned to the ground? It couldn't possibly have anything to do with the fact that the police had just murdered someone in front of people from that police department.
Let it be burned to the ground.
Yeah, I know. Because now they get a shiny new one.
Have a commission for that. We had a couple of dozen dead Americans. We had billions of property damage. Cops pelted with bricks, rocks, bottles, Molotov cocktails.
Oh no!
2,000 plus cops injured. No investigative anything.
Nope.
Nothing. No arrests. We have all the evidence. Why aren't we arresting those people? Now, sadly, today,
almost like you're a journalist.
Vitriol in South Carolina, where Biden used the site of a horrific 2015 mass shooting to further vilify his political opponents. Now,
PSL interrupted
make no
this.
Mistake, the Biden
Did
campaign, all they
if
have
we want to look
lie
at that as well, just to be like, you're supporting genocide.
Jesus Christ!
You know how they are.
Yeah,
I'll pull up the
hatred and loathing. That's all they have. They have nothing else to offer. Take a look.
Not Trump, though.
Campaign
That's
is
not
about
him.
him.
This is it.
Not America, not you. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past. not the future. Trump's assault on democracy isn't just part of his past. It's what he's promising for the future. He's being straightforward. He's not hiding the ball. Trump's not concerned about your future, I promise you. Trump is now promising a full-scale campaign of revenge and retribution. The same movement that throughout the mob of the United States Capitol isn't just trying to rewrite history, January 6th.
Now it's a different one. Go back to the sick fuck speech. Put it in. He's going to look cool. That's why Hannity didn't put it in.
Denying your right to vote and have it counted. Destroying diversity, equality, inclusion all across America. Harboring hate and replacing hope with anger and resentment.
Democracy in peril. Trump, MAGA Republicans, January 6th, abortion, identity politics, fear-mongering. That's all you're going to hear from the Democratic Party and their surrogates and their willing accomplices in the media mob from now until Election Day in November.
You're the media mob.
Biden has given up on his fake pledge to fight for the soul of our nation. Instead, he's looking to divide and conquer. He's actually adopted the Eric Holder strategy of they go low, kick them. That's his style of campaigning.
That's
or
you.
At least that's what the Democratic Party's trying to do. Now, Joe barely knows what day of the week it actually is, and will spend most of the upcoming year in his basement or in the White House basement or on the beach somewhere, resting and relaxing.
That was Trump.
It's not working for Joe Biden. Voters remain angry at their president. Look at these polls. The president is down in nearly every single swing state in the country. And now two of the biggest Trump haters in America are reportedly freaking out. That would be former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama. They apparently are getting very, very nervous.
Known Trump hater, Mr. He deserves to have a chance.
Animated discussing the 2024 election and the former president. Donald Trump's potential return to power scares him. And meanwhile, Michelle Obama
anybody who
expressed
knows
her
anything
fears
would say
on a
the
recent
same thing.
podcast. Take a look for yourself.
Going to happen in this next election. I am terrified about what could possibly happen because our leaders
Jay Shetty,
matter. Who we
this
select,
motherfucker,
who speaks for us, who holds that bully pulpit. It affects us in ways that sometimes I think people take for granted. You know, the fact that people think that government, you know, does it really even do anything? And I'm like, oh my God.
I love that she's all dressed up. He's in a fucking hoodie.
And we cannot take this democracy for granted.
This fucking guy.
And I took her at her word. For the first time in her adult life, she actually was proud of her country. What happened? Now, the government does everything for us? Really? Now, the Obamas are completely out of touch. We know that, but they are
not you though,
about
Sean.
Joe Biden's political chances. The Biden White House has mismanaged pretty much everything. The Afghanistan withdrawal, the disaster that is our border, the attacks in the Middle East, war in Europe, Bidenomics, inflation. Is there anything that's going well? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? What drives elections? Peace and prosperity? Okay, well, the world's not so peaceful. Joe Biden's getting bullied by China, Russia, Iran, and seemingly everybody
China's
else.
famously bullying the
And
United States right now.
60% of our fellow Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Democrats have done great damage to the democratic process, despite their melodramatic, pleas to save democracy and their Nazi analogies. They're the ones ripping Republicans off the ballot without any due process.
Well, that's perfect timing. Question for you.
Okay. I'm seeing it's legal and it's not at the same time. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be the most confusing election there is. So the thing is that this is the way that law works. Everything is legal or not legal. So like if a court decides something, like the next elevated court has to really, really care about that to overturn it. But when it comes down to like if the Supreme Court take the case and they just say that it's like, oh, it's totally legal across the board, then it's going to be interpreted that way from now on. So the risk that you have of escalating cases to the next court is that it actually sets a precedent in law at a higher level than it would. So technically the people who, if they're getting like states like New York, if Trump gets banned from the ballot, that's not something that the establishment of the Republicans are going to want to challenge. because it will be elevated in New York. It will stay in the New York Supreme Court unless the highest Supreme Court, the more like federal judicial one, the top one, if they end up making a decision, then it could stop New York there instead of like elevating it through New York law. But at the same time, bringing it up to that level elevates the risk as well. So
because
basically,
it could become a federal law.
Basically, everything, like, is it legal to put Trump on and off the ballots? Yeah and no. It's both, and that's how it is. I mean, murder's technically legal at the end of the day if you're the right person. So
true, like a cop.
Well, NY hasn't done it yet. I'm just giving NY as an example. But ultimately, if you are in New York, your vote doesn't matter. New York is a state that's always going to be blue. It's more important on the local levels, and New York does do well in rural areas with having more like Republican. Even in California, like they elected Arnold Schwarzenegger, who wasn't the most right wing, but like still
a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Reagan was California.
Yeah, but that was like before California went woke, as they say.
Still.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's 30 seconds left, so.
Now, that's a pretty innovative way if you really want to save democracy. And they're the ones attempting to jail their chief political rival in an election year. Again, they don't care about democracy. This is a slogan. This is a political strategy. All they really want at the end of the day is power. Hey, Sean Hannity here.
Okay, Sean.
Worthy of loved ones lost.
Huh?
Make them proud.
Huh?
So many of you were there for us during that loss, including my dear friend Jim and Emily Cleveland.
Huh?
Miss Emily, I miss. People of deep faith. The truth is under assault in America. As a consequence, so is our freedom, our democracy, our very country, because without the truth, there's no light. Without light, there's no path.
Okay, Yoda. This is nonsense.
That's all right. That's all
this
right.
girl on the
That's
end,
all right.
this girl right here, she's not putting in any effort.
No. She's just happy to be there.
Like, this guy's like, okay, I'm leaving. The guy next to him is leaving. This lady scooted up to come talk to them.
Such a crazy place to do that too.
Well, everyone get your phones out to film it.
Lol.
Bro, because I'm equally confused at this response. Like, because this is like South Carolina. Like,
yeah.
Wow. What?
Yeah, that's wild.
What a diverse crowd, you know, like to immediately respond with that. I'm sure not all of them are doing that, but
yeah,
that was
like
that was funny how
right
spontaneous that kicked in. That was
yeah. Oh no, they're all doing it now.
Thank you.
NPC syndrome kicked in.
Thank you. Look, folks, I understand their passion, and I've been quietly working with the Israeli government to get them to reduce and significantly get out of Gaza. I'm using all that I can to do that. But I understand the passion. Look, folks, after the civil... Thank you. Well, thank you.
That's the most South Carolina thing that could have happened.
After the Civil War, the defeated Confederates couldn't accept the verdict of the war. They had lost. So they say they embraced what's known as the lost cause, a self-serving lie that the Civil War is not about slavery, but about states' rights. They've called that the noble cause. That was a lie that had not just a lie, but it had terrible consequences. It brought on Jim Crow. So let me be clear, for those who don't seem to know, slavery was the cause of the Civil War. There's no negotiation about that. Now we're living in an era of a second lost cause. Once again, there's some in this country trying to turn a loss into a lie.
Oh no.
Stop.
A lie, which if allowed to live.
Joe.
Oh no.
Just compare it to 9/11 again. Please don't do this.
Oh no.
So anyway, that's how that went.
Keep it going.
Okay.
Will once again bring terrible damage to this country. This time, the lie is about the 2020 election.
Mm-hmm.
The election which you made, your voices heard, and your power known. Just 2 days ago, we marked the 3rd anniversary of one of the darkest days in American history, January 6th, the day in which insurrectionists stormed the United States Capitol, trying for the first time in American history to stop the peaceful transfer of power in the country. We all saw with our own eyes the truth of what happened. That mob
is
the
seceding
first
from the
time?
nation not stopping like peaceful transfer of power,
president.
you know?
Smashing
Technically
windows,
it's already
screaming, blood
transferred,
on
but you know what I
statues,
mean?
ransacking offices.
Like they
Outside,
seceded as a result of
insurrectionists
Lincoln being
gallows,
elected.
chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Inside, they hunted for Nancy Pelosi, chanting, "Where's Nancy?" We saw something on January 6th we'd never seen before, even during the Civil War. Insurrectionists waving Confederate flags inside the halls of Congress built by enslaved Americans. A mob attacked and called black officers, black veterans, defending the nation those vile of racist names. And yet, an extreme movement in America, the MAGA Republicans, led by a defeated president, is trying to steal history now. They tried to steal an election. Now they're trying to steal history. Telling us that violent mob was.
I was wondering how he was going to bring it round.
Protest. That insurrection, those insurrectionists were, these are his words, patriots. That there was, quote, a lot of love that day. In fact, the rest of the nation and the world saw a lot of hate and violence. For hours, the defeated former president sat in the private dining room off of the Oval Office and did nothing, absolutely nothing.
Okay.
His actions were among the worst derelictions of duty by any president in American history.
Okay, good.
You get the picture.
This is a good move to do this speech, though.
Yeah.
I like the fact that people can just like literally like they can call out to him. You know, like that's not something that Trump wouldn't do, because obviously Trump loves playing with the crowd.
Yes.
But it's not often that there is like a president that you can have like that almost, I want to say, intimate of a conversation, even though he's.
A church is pretty intimate. Like,
yeah, that's what I think is like the environment that he picked set the tone for what was going to happen here. So, like, honestly, like the interruption that people want to focus on isn't even like it's not even like that chaotic. You know, there's probably other times where he has less control of the crowd and needs them to calm down than that.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it was like 4 people.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was 3, and then like there was security on each end of them.
I mean, yeah, good on him. But time, optics. You need people to be on your side. That ain't the place.
Well, that's what's interesting too. Is like clearly the crowd here did not respond well to what happened there.
Yeah.
And his response to the crowd is, they're right. You know, like they're you know, it's like, I understand why they're like this. And it's like, you can't like just go on and like tell people how like this type of diplomacy can't happen in public, because all these, you know, like go like we can't be open about how often we negotiate with the Houthis. We can only show that we've bombed them.
Yeah.
Because if you're open with
Yeah,
people
exactly.
about that type of stuff that goes on, these people lose face, and then you can't get into negotiations with them because people find out that they're full of shit and don't stand for the like extremist values that they actually have.
Yeah. Anyway,
you just got to learn that everyone is fake.
Yeah, exactly.
On the
Everybody
political
lies.
stage.
Everything's a lie. Anyway,
Mhm.
I think we're done.
Mhm.
So, good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget.
But I'm trying to figure out how
Mm.
we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Subscribe to the Patreon. We need help.
YouTube took me money.
We can't make money on YouTube.
Now I'm in need.